Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Let's go! I don't know where we're going. I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to share your enthusiasm. The last thing I saw before I went to La La Land was the 49ers dismantling the Cowboys.
Hey, you know what, Jay?
I'm scared to death.
The Browns have nothing to lose.
Except the game.
And
perhaps healthy players.
We're all expecting them to lose, so let's go. The Browns got to play a great game. Obviously, the Niners are really. What's amazing is they won by 32.
It could have been.
And McCaffrey had his worst game. Like that, he wasn't that bad, but he didn't play a big factor in the game.
You're right. They're deep. They've got 5 superstars on offense. The thing that scares me most is they were up 32 early in the fourth quarter when they just said, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
It could have been 50 if they wanted.
Oh, yeah.
This team is
loaded.
Dynamic. We're going to talk a lot about the Niners coming.
By the way, later, we have none of those plays.
Yeah. Later, I heard Joe Thomas today in an interview say something fascinating about Kyle Shanahan.
Hold it for our Niners conversation, because I didn't hear it, but now I'm fascinated by your tease on what he had to say. 49ers, roster rumors. We're careful about this sort of thing because if you have a Twitter account, you can suddenly be an NFL reporter. But there has been a little bit of scuttlebutt about the Browns being interested in making a move for an offensive lineman. I want your take in particular. You talk to these guys. I'm wondering if you've heard any of that. It wouldn't surprise me. In fact, it would disappoint me if they weren't. But we'll talk about that. Baker made some interesting comments on Friday on the Pat McAfee show about how his time in Cleveland ended. We'll play those. We'll talk about whether Cleveland as a whole is rooting for him to succeed or to fail. And like everything else, it's probably a 50-50 split. Lomas Brown joins us. Mikey had asked me end of last week, we need a guest for Monday. See what you can do. So before I sent out feelers, I really started thinking, what's our biggest issue? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think our biggest issue is the offensive line.
No doubt.
I mean,
I think it's the quarterback play.
Well, I think the quarterback play is tied to the offensive line.
Yeah, it is.
And guess what? There is no fixing that.
Right.
He's your man.
Right.
For better or worse.
Yeah.
So I said, who can I reach out to that can help with the offensive line? Lomas is a longtime friend. I first met him when he came to the Buccaneers right before they won the Super Bowl. Oddly enough, he was an interesting pickup in the offseason because Tony Dungy had just been fired. And when they brought Lomas Brown in, I thought, what is this? Like, Lomas isn't going to start. They had just drafted Kenyatta Walker. I didn't think that he had any chance of starting. And it was a stroke of genius because what he did was he stabilized the locker room, gave them a veteran presence, and he also helped all the offensive linemen get better. They knew he was at the tail end of a Hall of Fame career. So I'm going to ask Lomas, what can we do? What can this team do
mid-season?
5 weeks into the season, because we had Chris Rose on last week, and he was chiding us saying, guys, there's no left tackle store.
Yeah, there is.
Well, that doesn't mean you throw your hands up in the air and say, okay, we stick at that position, and it is what it is. So Lomas will tell us if something could be done. Can this guy be salvaged? And also he's obviously, his Buccaneers beat Callahan's Raiders in the Super Bowl. He knows Bill Callahan, and we'll talk about that. Also, Johnny Stanton, the former Browns player, is going to join us with what he's up to. He's got an interesting new venture that he's working on. But first, let's say our first hello of the day. Hope you had a great weekend, Mikey McNuggets. Good to see you.
I did. I actually got a real quick story to tell you guys. So I went to a wedding with Miss Nuggets down in Pennsylvania, and it is in
a trashy wedding.
Wow. It was definitely a little different.
Judgmental.
A little different. Yeah, I'm not.
I mean, Mike and I were talking on the phone as he
so
was driving
you already
down
know.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was definitely different.
You seemed offended by that, Mike, but you and I were laughing about it on the phone.
You're rolling on Mike. I hope your friends that got married are watching.
Let me just say this.
This is an epidemic. Bull has been dry snitching for about 3 to 4 weeks at the highest rate.
About what?
He's like, guys, are you on your phones?
Right. Yeah. Dry snitching because you and Mikey had an off-channel conversation
That's
about
all.
a wedding, which now you say,
But wait
well,
a
Mikey
second.
characterized this as a trashy wedding.
Wait a second. It's not his friend. It's his girlfriend's like cousin. It's
Okay,
well,
that's even
someone-
worse.
You already
Now
started
he's
one
in trouble
fight.
with his girlfriend.
You already started one fight between the
Mrs.
two of them.
McNuggets, we apologize. It's Miss McNuggets. We
Oh,
apologize.
stop.
Well, here's the issue.
Yeah.
I got recognized at the wedding bowl, so somebody's gonna be watching.
Oh, no.
Now,
Yeah, bull.
In fairness-
You just did me dirty.
all right, let me
Again.
clarify to save Mike.
Again.
Let me clarify to save Mike.
Wait, we need a shovel. A backhoe, actually.
This is what Mike told me before the wedding. So Mike got a nice wedding.
No,
This is
doubling down.
Listen.
And Mike
this-
didn't say trashy. I said trashy.
He's taking-
Okay.
He did
he's-
not say trashy.
Because I don't think Mike would do that.
Mike
It
did
was
not.
different. It wasn't trashy.
Mike did not say trashy, but he told me he didn't have to wear a suit for a wedding. I mean,
When Bull cleans up, he brings a match and gas. That's how
you guys
he
are not even
cleans up.
listening. You're not even listening.
That is so
Nothing wrong
great.
was said. Nothing wrong was said. Was there anybody wearing a sports jersey at this wedding?
Yes, there was.
Okay, so it's a trashy wedding. What do you want from me? Mike didn't say it. I'm saying it.
It was
Just because these
listen,
guys got no balls to
Any
say
other
it, I'll say
skeletons
it.
you'd like to pull out of your closet real quick?
No, it was actually a really good time. It was unlike any wedding I've been to, and every wedding is unique and special in its own right.
Yes.
This dress code was very casual.
And that's fine.
There
That's
were
their
some
choice.
Steelers jerseys.
Doesn't
There
mean
were some
trashy.
sweatshirts. There was taxidermy all over the walls of the reception.
Classy. That's classy.
Hey, man.
You could. Some people like
What's
it. Some people
Pennsylvania,
don't.
bro?
It's up to you.
That's what
yeah.
they do,
Hey,
man.
But-
comfortable.
They
This
all know the
started-
first day of deer hunting season.
This started though. I'm at the wedding,
Yeah.
and someone goes, "You're Mikey McNuggets,"
That's fantastic.
and I was like, "I am," but I didn't charge my appearance fee, so you guys are welcome. That was my wedding gift. I didn't charge the appearance fee.
Right.
I
I'm
went
here.
out
I'm
of
doing you
pure-
guys a favor.
No, I don't really have an appearance fee. Don't look at me like I'm joking.
Yeah.
But it was cool. I was
Wait,
in,
now, so who was this? It must have been someone
was-
that was from Ohio, I'm guessing.
who recognized me? Yeah, Miss Nuggets' family is all spread out from like Western Pennsylvania, Ohio. in
Okay.
general,
And they
state,
probably
so.
all know that you're Mikey McNuggets of UCSS
I knew
fame.
very few people there. Like that, I
knew
actually
nobody.
knew.
Right.
So
They went to Cedar Point for their honeymoon, by the way.
Is that a fact?
no.
Okay.
Hey,
Because I was going to pile on if that was true. Wait, he said I can't tell you where they did go. Now we've got to know.
No.
At least in our ears.
I'll tell you in your ear.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Stop. It's not.
Bull, you're awful.
Bull, you're gonna.
I
I'm gonna get in so much
I
trouble.
need that on the quote board. We need to tweet that out. When Bull cleans up, he brings gasoline and matches.
Completely untrue. This is all on me. Mike didn't say anything bad about the wedding. He was just telling me about it, so I said it was a trashy
So
wedding.
you judged it as
I
trashy.
said I've been to trashy weddings when I was living in upstate New York.
And
I
you
went
know
to
a
weddings.
trashy wedding
It
when you
doesn't
see
mean
one.
they're not fun or great or
yeah.
awesome.
Right.
It's a little trashy.
Okay.
Oh my God.
It was a fun one. At the end of the day, I
had a
had a
good time.
blast.
That's
Shout
all
out
that
to
matters.
Shane and Becky.
Hey,
and
Mike, let me ask you a question. How
Send
many,
the counseling bills to Bull for
I don't
your
care.
relationship.
How many drinks did you have at this wedding, Mike?
I brought a flask or two.
You brought? Wait, it was BYOB?
Listen, this is not a marriage recap.
I just dry
I'm siding
snitched
with
again,
Bull.
G.
This
The
is-
more
I just
this
dropped-
story goes on, the more I'm siding with
Hey
Bull.
guys, the Browns have a massive game.
Bring the
coming up.
six-pack to
But
the-
before
to the
we get,
wedding.
listen, no, what's up, Earl? You guys are. I'm
Did
Bull.
anyone walk in with a six-pack of PBR?
Wait, hold on, Bull. It's
Yeah.
okay, man, not to say nothing. Just ask for a lawyer. Just ask for a lawyer. You don't have to say nothing.
let
You
me
don't
ask
know
you-
nothing. You ain't see nothing.
Earl,
you ain't
Earl,
hear
white people
nothing.
can't shut up, man.
Let
We
me
just keep
ask,
talking.
let me ask you a question. Have we been laughing for the last 5 minutes?
No, listen, it was great content.
So who cares?
That you're absolutely right.
I think
if
Mike
someone's
cares.
feelings got
Mike
trampled
doesn't
in the
care.
process,
Mike-
be damned.
Mike
Hey.
loves entertainment.
hey.
His girlfriend's not going to care.
If
There's
you're
nothing
a
with
part of my
nothing.
life, you are
If-
part of the
if-
content.
if-
Now, I do have to remind people, though, and maybe I need this now, that if you need life-saving antibiotics at the drop of a hat, Jace Medical is where you have to go to
calling
get
him
your
right now.
life-saving antibiotics. If you use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout at jacemedical.com, that is JASE medical.com, you get up to $20 off. Make sure you check them out at jacemedical.com.
What a
Hello,
start.
Jace. Do
What
you
a
have
start.
anything for a fractured boyfriend-girlfriend relationship in the antibiotics aisle? because I think we're going to need it.
I mean,
They've got you covered. They're sending it over.
Hey, needing emergency antibiotics can really fracture relationships. What you mean? What you mean?
Why you ordering that?
Why you got that penicillin?
Bull, thank you. With all of my heart, thank you. Because none of this happens if you don't do that.
Yeah, well, because I'm the only. I keep it real. That's how it works. Everybody else is a freaking phony.
Well, no, it's not that anybody's a phony. Not everything is on-air fodder.
TV are phonies.
Not everything is on-air fodder.
That was on-air fodder. Mike, tell me the truth. Are you bothered by anything I said? Be honest.
Me, myself, not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll miss Nuggets.
Why? What would she be insulted about?
You just killed her family.
I didn't kill her family.
That's her cousin.
Let me ask you this. Her last name is neither Hatfield nor McCoy, is it?
Let me tell you something.
It is not, no.
She is related to somebody who's in the entertainment business, okay? If she can't take it, that's on her. Find the next one.
Hey, man, just so you guys know, when people walk
Mikey's a man in demand. He can have any woman in town.
Bull, I just would like to hop in here. Can you please stop telling Mike and I to break up with our girlfriends?
I'm not telling you to break up with your girlfriend. Well,
it just keeps happening.
You know what? Bull is the friend that doesn't want any of his friends to be hooked up with anybody.
Hey, listen.
That's
You're
not
cutting
true.
in on my personal time.
That's not true. First of all, I never really said to break up with your girlfriend. I was joking with Anthony that he should break up because he has to schlep to Columbus all the time.
Anything you want to pull out of the air on Anthony and get him in trouble with?
No.
By the way, when people ask me questions about you, I don't know none of y'all.
McNuggets literally just whispered in my ear,
No,
Jay,
you.
whatever you do, please get us into the show.
All right, get it.
Let's
keep it moving.
Yeah, I don't want to
There's a bunch of
embarrass
wimps
anybody.
around
I don't
here.
want to cause that. I don't need any antibiotics.
Let her be mad at me.
Emergency
You didn't do
antibiotics.
anything.
That
Go
could
ahead.
be real bad. All right. What did we learn yesterday from the AFC North? Obviously, we learned nothing about the Browns. The Bengals, we all thought they should, but they returned closer to the Bengals than they were last year in handling Arizona pretty easily. Pittsburgh, though, I think is the team that's got an arrow going up next to their name right now. What do we make of this muddled AFC North?
Although the Ravens are still the favorites in Vegas to win the North. Browns are second choice. Bengals and Steelers tied for third.
Wow.
Because the Steelers are... How the Steelers are 3-2, I have no idea.
They gut stuff out, Bull. They did it yesterday.
The Ravens handed the game to the Steelers just like the Browns handed the game to the Steelers.
You're right. But
handed it to them.
But in their defense, they beat them the same way they beat the Browns. Same play. Highsmith got free. There was T.J. Watt. The guy was born under the right star. No question about that. But they make splash plays at impactful times in the game. And I agree with you, Bull. They're not dripping with talent.
Their offense stinks.
Here's what they do. They gut out wins when they should be losses.
Now, the difference between the two was this one happened. The Steelers were already winning the game at this point.
Yes.
In this game.
They iced it.
They iced it with that run, as opposed to in the Browns game where it gave them the win.
Also, I don't think it's coincidence that these are divisional games where this stuff's happening, where you play these guys all the time, you know them so well, and weird things happen. We saw what the 49ers did to the Steelers. They pulled their arms and legs off and beat them with them. And hopefully that doesn't happen again this Sunday.
Texans beat the Steelers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I put zero stock in the Steelers. None. Zero. I would never make a bet ever in my life, but if I did, I would pick the Bengals to win the division. Like, I think they're putting it together and they're putting the wheels back on the cart.
I mean,
that's the team to me.
Forget that, man. Listen, the Steelers, you say what you want to about them. They beat the Browns.
Yep.
They found a way to beat the Ravens. And once again, you look at their roster, you think they don't got nobody, and then all of a sudden, they're right there looking at you.
We tried telling you that. You and I kept saying that.
They still haven't won a playoff game since Anthony's been able to drink.
Well, I'm not worried about the playoffs. I'm worried about us getting to the playoffs, and they're clearly a roadblock.
Sure, of course. Listen, here's the thing with the AFC North right now. Things change as the year goes.
Sure.
We have different opinions at different times. Right now, all four of these teams are mediocre. All four are mediocre.
I would agree with that, Bull, but here's where I would take it moving forward. There's one team that has the ability to be elite amongst those four, and it's the one in last place, in my view. We have not seen the full-on Cincinnati Bengals yet. We're starting to see glimpses of them, but they have the pedigree. They're the ones going to Super Bowls and AFC championship games. And they're young, and that core is still together, and they are going to figure this out. And I'm surprised. If I'm in Vegas, I've got Cincinnati as the top pick, the Ravens as the second pick. As much as I hate to say this, the Steelers as the third pick, and the Browns as the fourth pick. Now, I don't think there's a huge difference between 2 and 4. I think those teams are very, very close. But I think the Bengals are still the crown is on their head.
Did any of you guys watch much of the Bengals-Cardinals game yesterday?
On and off,
yes.
bits and pieces.
Okay.
No, I was at baseball camp.
I watched pretty much the whole thing.
Sure, as I would expect.
Now, obviously they played a lot better.
Yeah.
And Burrow, for the first 4 weeks, Burrow looked like 50% Joe Burrow.
Right.
Yesterday, he looked like 90%. He still wasn't perfect.
You mean health-wise with the leg?
He still wasn't perfect. He still missed on a couple of throws.
Did he run much?
He had a couple of runs, and just a couple of times where he moved out of the pocket, not even to run, just to give a little more time.
Slide in the pocket.
Where I was like, okay, you can tell he's healthier now.
Okay.
Now, he's still not 100%, but he was close enough that the offense could perform, and obviously Chase just caught everything and went off. But the Bengals still have problems. Let me tell you, they're a flawed team.
What would you say?
First of all, their offensive line
Yeah.
is still a problem. They spent a ton of money on Orlando Brown Jr. He's been lousy so far this year. I don't know. I thought he's better than what they had at left tackle, Jonah Williams, who's now playing right tackle, but he's not playing particularly well. Again, better than Jed Wills, but he's not really playing well. And defensively, you look at the final score and you see 20 and you'd be like, well, that's a pretty good job. Well, first of all, it's the Cardinals.
Right.
Josh Dobbs is not a starting NFL quarterback. I know he's been okay. He's not a starting NFL quarterback.
Right.
Number two, a big thing that happened in this game that unless you were watching, you wouldn't know. James Conner, the former Steeler running back, is it James Conner, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I don't know why it sounded wrong in my head. He got hurt at the end of the first half.
Oh.
He was killing the Bengals between the tackles, killing them. I think he had 6 carries for 40-something yards.
Yeah.
And when he got hurt, the Cardinals couldn't run between the tackles anymore.
That was it.
And then Dobbs became one-dimensional, and they can't win that way.
Right.
So they're out. But the Bengals defense has problems. I don't know if it's the young guys that have taken over in the secondary from the veteran safeties. I don't know if it's maybe DJ Reader kind of slipping in the middle of that D-line.
Doesn't that sometimes, because there's so much communication involved, doesn't that sometimes, when you insert a new piece, take a couple of weeks?
It could, and there's a lot of talent on that side of the ball, but they're not playing well. So while I would agree the Bengals have the most upside, or most proven upside of the 4 teams,
Right.
I'm not convinced the Bengals are right yet.
Good. I hope you're right and I'm wrong.
And keep in mind, listen to the Bengals schedule, all right? The next 4 weeks. They got Seattle at home. That's a tough game.
Sure.
Then a bye.
Wait, Seattle or they're
at
Cincinnati?
home in Cincinnati.
Okay.
Then a bye. Then back-to-back weeks. I can't remember which is the home, which is the road, but they're playing San Francisco and Buffalo back-to-back weeks. Then they play Houston, and then they play Baltimore. So they got a stretch of games that are tough. Now, I always say when you're a good team, you don't care who you're playing.
Right. We'll find out what they
but
are
we'll
after
find
that
out
stretch.
how.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced they're all the way back or that they're that much better, if better at all, than any of the other teams in the North.
Okay.
I think they're close.
The thing that alarms me with that is the fact that the Bengals have not been playing good at all, and you look up and they got 2 wins.
That's
just
true.
like
They're
one
right
game,
there.
They're one game out of first
Despite
place.
playing
Like,
poor
so
football.
you think you're like, wow, we feel encouraged, but no, like they get the Seahawks at home. Theoretically, if they win that game, I think they'll be 3-3.
Yep.
You lose that game, guess what? Because guess what? Who we play? We got the 49ers this week. We lose that game, now you're 2-4. Now you're
2-3.
2-3. Sorry.
Yeah.
So now you're 2-3, and you're like, what just happened?
If the Browns lose to the Niners and the Bengals beat the Seahawks, the Browns will be in last place, at least through week 6.
So to me, like I said 6 games. Do I feel good about that? No. You are in last place after 6 games.
You know, so you've got 6 games. To me was, don't make me pull this car over. Now the saying is don't, or F around and find out.
Yeah.
So when you said that, you've got 6 games. What would be your line of wanting action, and what would you want that action to be?
The line of action is
Was it 2-4?
The line of action was 1. You can't be 1 and something. Like you can't be
So
1 and 4.
2-4 is not DEFCON ready.
2-4 is not DEFCON like 1, But the thing that makes you disappointed is you're 2-4 and you're in last place again. Right. You ended last year in last place, and you're just fighting for relevancy here. At some point you can't keep finding yourself. But it seems that it doesn't matter where the talent's coming from, how you stack the talent, who you brought in, whatever the case may be. You look up and it's a disappointment because if you lose this week, I look at the other rosters and I say, well, look at the improbable wins the Steelers get, right?
And that's it. What I said, the Steelers gut out wins. Look at the difference in your schedule and how you feel about yourself. If you're 2-3 after the Niners game and in last place, or if you didn't allow the Steelers to gut one out against you, and you did what you were supposed to do, you're 3-2, and everything feels, and tastes differently.
Looks different, man.
So 2-4 for me is a sideways start.
Well, 2-4.
It's hard to get the car back in the right direction.
If you're 2-4, disaster struck because you got Gardner Minshew.
That's right.
In week 6, or I guess it would be week 7.
Week 7, but
Indy.
game 6.
So that you better win that one. So I don't think 2-4. I could see 3-3. I don't think we're staring down 2-4. But the AFC,
didn't Minshew beat the Ravens?
Yes.
Yeah. But I still think.
So I don't think anything's a given in the NFL.
In the NFL, it's not. It's not. And for the AFC, I still put the Chiefs, Bills, and the Dolphins to me are up here, and then it's everybody else.
Right.
So the Bulls point that it's a.
Well, I agree with that.
It's a mediocre division. Well, yeah, it's a mediocre conference outside of those top 3.
Right.
Once you slot those top 3 in whatever order you want. And maybe some people want to take the Bills out. I don't, and I absolutely.
Well, the Bills housed the Dolphins, so I don't think you should take them out.
So I put those 3 in the top, and then slot whoever else, however you want, and the entire division, AFC North, falls into that. I think it is mediocre, and I agree that. Like I said, if I was making a bet, I'd put my money on the Bengals to win the division.
Yeah,
I just don't think that's.
And I'm with you on that. I think the more we always talk about small sample size, the more pieces of the puzzle we get to see, the easier it is to see what you're looking at.
Sure.
The picture starts to come into focus. And for me, there really have not been any major surprises in the AFC. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. They haven't been as dominant as I thought they would be. The Bills lost a couple of games that were head scratchers, but they've also looked like the Bills.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins have more offensive yards than any team in the history of the NFL through the first 5 games of the season.
I think that's been the most.
They're better than
I thought they'd be good,
but not.
They've been all-time great.
This Devin Achane is absurd.
He's unbelievable.
You know he's averaging over 12 yards a carry.
I heard that yesterday.
That's
you
ridiculous.
give him the ball because he has the home run. He's got 4 or 5 home run balls this year.
How did that guy go 80-something in the draft?
Well, so you watched him in college.
And high school.
Yeah.
Here's what I think he was a victim of. Here's another world-class track guy that wants to be a football player. I think that mentality has permeated NFL GMs. Now, our guy took a shot on Anthony Schwartz, and where is he now?
Right.
He's probably training for the 2024
Yeah, and
Olympics.
it's only been a few games. Maybe he gets hurt. Maybe he's never the same.
But
you don't know.
I've seen enough
But
of HN to know that guy is legit.
He's better than any offensive player Andrew Berry has drafted while he's been here.
Not even close.
Mikey wants to make a point about HN.
So this kid's been underrated and overlooked his whole. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, despite scoring 171.
Why was he small coming out of high school?
Yeah, he's 5'9", a $180. Like he's not a huge guy, but he was always significantly faster, and he scored 170 touchdowns at a powerhouse program in Texas.
170
in 4 years. Yeah.
Okay, shame on all the big-time recruiters.
3-star. Now
I don't care if he was playing in Montana and it was 7-man football.
That's 43 touchdowns a year.
That's 4 a game.
Well, so his offer list for a 3-star recruit was. His final 3 was Bama, LSU, A&M. Went to A&M.
Okay, so they caught on to him.
So he just was, but because the recruiting systems, if you're not 6'4" and jacked and massive.
Did he go to A&M because he wanted to stay home?
He's from Houston. It was the best chance for him to get early playing time. He played behind Isaiah Spiller, who's now on the Chargers.
Okay.
They split time. He never got a ton of carries at A&M because I think the wear and tear factor, just they're a little hesitant to give him like the full RB workload.
He's not a workload back.
But since every time he's ever had a chance to touch the ball, he's been dynamic. And he makes fast guys look slow.
I took him in the last round of our fantasy draft. Not ours.
Not this one, yeah.
My other fantasy league. And everybody was like, who? Who is this guy? And the only reason I took him is because I'd read a couple articles that, like, if you're looking for a guy that could absolutely shock everybody, here he is. And I thought, what the heck? It's the last
What's funny, in our league, I took him, After the
And then you
second
released
week,
him.
I released him. Fortunately, I had the top waiver pick to get him back.
I never saw that you'd released him or
Oh,
I
my
was snatched
God.
him up. I never saw it.
It's just it's a philosophy in what you do. Like they're gonna draft fast players. They already had fast players. They trade for fast players. Now, my problem is, look, hey, we go and get David Bell's 4'7" guys. And you're like, I wonder why David Bell isn't breaking.
Something we got to talk about this week is why is Cedric Tillman not getting an opportunity?
I wish I knew.
Because he needs to get.
If he's not good enough to get on the field with this group of wide receivers, then he might be the most recent wide receiver draft.
That's
bust.
fair. But again, on the other hand, like I really believe the Browns can win this division. And when we talk about making a trade, I think the Browns need to remain aggressive because I think in the end, this division is very much up for grabs. If you look in Vegas, there's only 2 divisions where the favorite to win is not minus money. Minus money means you're a pretty big favorite, right?
Yep.
The only 2 divisions where there's not a team with minus money is this and the NFC South. That's it.
Wow.
Which means there's no clear favorite. Like the difference between the Ravens that I saw this morning and the Steelers and Bengals, who are tied for 3rd, is not much. Like that could change week to week.
Hell, I'll
it's
even
a
throw
total
the Browns
toss-up.
in there. I mean, we can't forget that the Browns have this elite defense. Or
Right.
What we
No, that's what I'm saying. The Browns are the second choice.
Even I just think AFC North is a blender division. You could play it out 10 times. You might get. One team might only win it 3.
That's right.
And so
it's gonna come down to, guys, what we've said all year long. If Deshaun Watson plays like we saw him against Tennessee, Browns have a very reasonable chance to win this division.
Agreed.
If he plays like the guy we've seen all the other games leading up to that, they're not going to win the division.
You're
it's
right.
that simple.
It's absolutely.
The defense could play great, and the defense is going to play well enough that the Browns will win their fair share of games. But whether or not they win the division is coming down to how good Deshaun Watson plays.
I think it's time that you start saying it comes down to what this coach is going to do too. There's too many times where we look at it on the other side of the field and we're just taking him out of the equation. Like Kevin is not going against Shanahan. Like Kevin does not have to pull his part of it too. If the Browns continue to run this vanilla playbook, they will not beat nobody close to the 49ers.
But here's the bottom line, G. None of the coaches in this division, in terms of offense, I know that the Steelers and Ravens have great head coaches. But in terms of offense, there's no genius in this division.
Well, the Bengals do scare me offensively.
But just because they have the most talent, not because Zach Taylor's that great an offensive play.
Look, I'm not going to put him in the genius category, but when you have a Joe Burrow and you have the core of receivers that they have,
yes,
and a Mixon, who is a very serviceable, better than serviceable running back, you've got the components.
Right, they've got more talent.
So that's why they scare me more than anybody, because Baltimore's offense looks pedestrian at times. They get the ball the first drive yesterday. They march it down the Steelers like they're going to win 42-10.
Right.
And then they just took a dirt
But
nap.
even the second drive, they marched down again, got stopped in the red zone field goal, and then they couldn't move the ball.
That was it.
I think they're throwing the ball too much. They are clearly a running team in there. But anyway.
The danger of looking at what they do against other teams is they play different against you. It doesn't matter what they do again. Like when they come play us, they just find ways to win.
Well, those are like to Jason's point. It's a divisional game. We know one another.
Yes.
And there's just that feeling that with Baltimore, their coach is going to get them over the top, and with Pittsburgh, their heart, desire, and guts are going to get them over the top. Where the hell is our advantage with coaches or with guts or with pride and heart?
Well, I think you have an advantage with your defensive coordinator. I
would agree with that.
I don't think Kevin Stefanski's an advantage. I think Kevin Stefanski's a mid-tier coach.
Lamar Jackson's throw in the red zone, it was
horrible.
On 3rd and goal, you took 3 points off the board. What was he thinking with that throw? His man wasn't open. He threw it directly to the defender. Sometimes I'm watching Lamar Jackson, and I'm wondering if already there are some fans that don't have buyer's remorse on his big contract, because he is not the Lamar Jackson that we saw 3 years ago.
No, this idea of turning him into more of a passing guy is a mistake, I think.
Mike's got a news update.
Yeah, question real quick. Before I read you guys a tweet, and maybe this is nothing, maybe it's something, I'm not sure. Was Deshaun Watson expected to practice today?
Was never really discussed.
Well, Jake Trotter just tweeted he is not on the field for practice today, on the sideline with parentheses shoulder.
Yeah, that's not great. That's not good.
Well, that also tells
now
me
it's only Monday, but
it also tells me that if this were not a bye week, he would not have been on the field yesterday. So I do feel better about the bye being week 5 now.
Yeah, Zach tweeted Njoku, Posick, and Bitonio also were out. Myles Garrett did practice. So it's only Monday. Yeah, of course you'd rather him be out there than not be out there.
I just got a little sick feeling in my stomach.
But just because
I was just asking, and I don't know what to read into that. I know it's early, but
it's not like if he were healthy, I think he would be practicing today, don't you?
Sure, he needs it. He hasn't practiced since before the loss to.
I think
like Bitonio's getting a veteran's extra day.
Right.
Or whatever.
I think Wednesday. I think they're off tomorrow. They're back on the practice field Wednesday.
If he's not practicing
Wednesday will be the telltale day. Wednesday. Will be
so you're not really concerned about this?
I'm a little. I am.
Jason seems to calm my nerves, Jay.
Well, I think Wednesday is more telling to me than today. Let's wait and see what happens on Wednesday.
I agree,
but I'm in wait and see mode.
The reason I'm a little concerned is because Myles Garrett got hurt in that game, and he's practicing today.
Yes.
Yeah. And his injury at the time had me terrified.
Right, and it's a more recent injury because he got hurt in that game.
Yeah.
As opposed to Watson.
Well, so I'm glad to see that Garrett is on the field.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly concerned about the fact that Watson is not.
Yeah.
Not good. It's not good, fellas.
I think to me it's a small concern if he doesn't practice Wednesday.
I think if he doesn't practice Wednesday, it becomes a much bigger deal.
Yes, no
much
doubt.
bigger deal.
Yes.
You got to.
well, we'll definitely monitor that and continue to give you guys updates.
There is partly, maybe you're thinking this. You know what? Could he practice? Yes. But if he doesn't today, we give him another 48 hours to heal.
Right. They could be thinking that.
Maybe he's perfectly fine, and this is all cautionary.
Let me just keep it real with y'all, man. I just saw what I saw again with the 49ers. You need your quarterback. Our passing game is not in a place where we can take 2 weeks off. And we're not throwing to nobody. We putting the game plan in. You're supposed to be up with the 49ers. They had to play, right? You're supposed to be up. Like, okay, let's go. Let's get these mental reps. You're not practicing on Monday. So now that's not. Yeah. We lost today, right?
So you're saying if you were the coach, even if he was perfectly fine, you would not hold him out till Wednesday.
I think if he was perfectly fine, he'd be on the field.
No, he's not fine.
But that's my thing. I just said to me. We must have put this in the back of our head when Baker was throwing his football and it was his opposite shoulder. It wasn't even his throwing arm. Right. This is throwing arm. So I just don't see it. I'm a little concerned, bro.
I think you all got to be concerned to a degree. If he practices Wednesday as a normal practice, then the concern I think goes away. But
if he practices Wednesday, all bets are off. But if he doesn't,
the Browns.
Yikes.
The Browns have no shot to win this game without Watson, obviously. The Browns are going to be the spread right now is 4.5 Niners.
That is.
If Watson doesn't play, it's going to be double digits.
You're probably right.
I mean, it's good. There's no shot they can win this game without
I'm the Kool-Aid drinker, and I ain't picked up a cup in weeks.
Because the Browns are going to have to beat the Niners. They're going to have to play a flawless game.
It will have to be their best game of the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll dig deep into that as the week progresses here. It is only Monday. And on Fridays, guys, the first 90 minutes of the show is right here on YouTube. The last 30 minutes is on WKYC Channel 3. Make sure you guys tune in. It is 30 minutes of brand new, never-before-seen content related to the upcoming Browns game. We did a little different stuff this week on the bye. We are back to our regularly scheduled Browns 49ers preview this Friday on WKYC. Make sure you guys tune in and check it out. We have had many discussions over the course of this season about the Browns' offensive line woes, especially the left side of the offensive line. And over the weekend, there were reports out there that started from Ian Rappaport, then Diana Rossini chimed in, and then Scotty Gange of our sister station in Denver mentioned the fact that the Browns at least made a phone call to Denver about their left tackle Garett Bolles. If you guys don't know, Bolles has been with the team for 7 years. He was a second-team All-Pro in 2020. Has not been playing to that level thus far this season, but is certainly a guy who is experienced at the position on the left side of the line. Let's start with Bolles, and then we'll look big picture here. But is Garett Bolles a guy you guys would be willing to throw some serious assets to Denver if need be?
What do you
to
mean
bring
by
him in?
Serious assets?
A third-round pick?
Well, considering what we've gotten out of our third-round picks, if we could get Garett Bolles for a third-round pick, I couldn't make that call fast enough.
Yeah.
A second?
But I don't know that a third. I don't know about a second.
I'd give up a second to solve the left tackle problem.
But here's the problem.
Yeah.
If you do that, you don't pick until the hundreds. Because we don't have a first-round pick either.
I have to get a left tackle.
I know, but man, we've mortgaged the farm already.
I know, but
So here's my
I'm
question.
all in. I'm all in on this.
Is this trade going to change the Browns' lives?
I think it could. I think it's the most impactful move they can make.
Jay?
I would trade
Would
a
you
second
be
round
willing
pick
to
for him.
not pick until the hundreds or the 90s at least?
I think you need to wait another couple weeks and see how the rest of the market develops, see how the rest of the trade market develops. I don't know that he's the best that's out there.
Yeah, it's early.
Well, Trent Brown, I think, is the best that's out there.
So I think you need at this, like I said, you head to the bye week to fix the running back thing because of what was out there. Well, that's not out there anymore. So that changes that conversation entirely. I think it's a little bit premature to have the trade discussion, and I think you got to wait a little bit longer and see what teams decide. You would hate to make. I mean, Garett Bolles is okay, but I would hate to make a move for someone like that now and have someone better emerge 3 weeks from now. And I understand you could lose the entire season in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Right.
But I think
It's a little bit
But
of
there's
game
not
of
many
chicken.
guys that are better, Jason. I mean, Trent Brown is the guy. See, I would be targeting Trent Brown of the Patriots.
It looks like the Patriots are
They're
in the
finished.
Caleb Williams sweet.
They're finished, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. So I said a second-round pick last week. Chris Rose thought it was insane. But whatever. Then you give up a third-round pick for him. They might be looking to just get rid of him because they're terrible. But he's a great player. I think he's top 5 in PFF. He's been a great player. He's right now through 5 weeks. He's the second-ranked tackle on Pro Football Focus. Garett Bolles is tied for 16th.
So you're basically renting him for 13 games.
Right.
A second seems high because if you hit on a second-round pick, that's a guy you could have for 12 years.
If they
not
don't
12
make,
games.
if they don't make
How many
the play-
second-round picks have the Browns had for 12 years?
If they
Well,
don't,
listen, that's a bigger discussion.
Yes.
if they don't make the playoffs, they won't be here to pick any people.
That's right.
So
You're all in.
I've been. What you mean?
Yeah, you're all in.
They're not gonna sniff them picks if they. That's delusional thoughts. If they want to save them for the next regime to come on here, I'm just telling you. I went back. And my father was here, after we got back, we went to Canada and hung out. And we came back and we was watching the game. And after we got done watching, I said, let me show you something. So I went over and got some cut-ups out, all 22. Because my dad, he like, man, we don't make a deal. Maybe we could just wait. So I said, no. Here's what we're going to do. Let me just put you the greatest hits on. So I put him the greatest Jed Wills hits on. And by the end of it, he was visibly upset. It seemed like he didn't take his high blood pressure medication. He said, I didn't know it was this bad. I didn't know. I said, oh, no. See, sometimes you got to really look at it and then digest it. And he said, I don't know how they're even getting the football off or running the football. I said, well, look, it only gets worse from here. The book is out. The book is out on what you do good and what you don't do well. His confidence is at an all-time low right now.
And now he gets Joey Bosa.
And now you coming in with Bosa. And now it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So my process is I look at it and say, the Cleveland Browns, if they continue to try the lineup they have out there, they won't make the playoffs, and it'll be easy because they can't throw the ball, they can't run the ball. I mean, he's getting beat on run plays.
To me, again, why would I wait? Like, I guess Bolles, this may be some guy, but I would go Trent Brown. There's nobody better. The guys that are better are all on good teams, so they're not getting traded.
But the only problem with that, Bull, is there's probably 20 other teams that are calling the Patriots with their offer, and those teams probably have
But how many teams need a left tackle? I don't know if there's that many teams
I
need
don't
a
know.
left tackle.
I don't know the number of that, but I do know this.
Yeah.
When you need a left tackle, you need a left tackle. It's like a flat tire. You can't just keep going.
But the Browns are in that situation.
They are.
Jedrick,
But I don't know how many other teams, to answer your question to mine, I don't know how many other teams need left tackle. Let's just say there's 6 in the market. The thinking is they're all going to have more assets than we do. And I know that we don't have a first, but because you have a second, that's your pick.
Yeah, I hear you. I just think in the end, I have to get a left tackle. I think it's an emergency situation right now. Jed Wills is a disaster. And he is screwing up the entire offense. Troy Brown is ranked 5th in the NFL PFF against in the pass, and fourth in the run. I mean, top 5 in both.
And
Trent Brown.
Trent Brown, sorry.
And
What I
here-
say, Troy
and
Brown?
here's
Troy played wide receiver, defensive back. Now
he's cold. He put some weight on.
Hey,
But-
G, real quick. Upside of also trading for Trent Brown, you would have the 2 biggest tackles in the NFL on the same line.
That's
Because Trent
facts.
Brown's listed at 6'8", 370. DeJuan Jones is 6'8", 375.
I'm all for it.
Just talk about. G, sorry to cut you
I
off.
guarantee
go
you.
ahead.
I guarantee you, if Trent, like Joel Bitonio for him, is having a subpar year. I guarantee you, if you got Trent Brown to play left tackle, Bitonio's not. I would go right back to being as good as he was because he's no longer worried about the left tackle. It makes 2 positions better.
You're right. No, I agree with
Really
that.
3 because we're going to make the running backs better.
And to Bull's point, we just talked about Deshaun Watson ain't even practicing. You think he can't get re-injured?
Well, here's the thing. To your point, to wait. If he's not practicing and he misses significant time, this is all a wasted conversation anyhow.
Well,
Yeah.
Because you don't want to give up a second-round draft pick, which is your first. You don't want to give up that pick if your quarterback's going to miss the next 3 or 4 games.
That's true, but as G made the point, Andrew Berry's job is on the line.
Oh, I think
If the
everybody's
Browns-
in a sling here.
If the Browns finish under 500, everybody's gone.
Well, except
Deservedly so. Except
J-Dub.
Oh yeah, he in the building.
Yeah.
He in the building. He got a
Who's the
raise.
son-in-law?
He's got those wedding paper. He's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
going
yeah.
anywhere.
We're not going nowhere. That's and my thing is, if you wait a week or 2 weeks, you can risk re-injury. I mean, like these are watch out, look out blocks. Hey, look over there. Oh,
But also, the flip side of that, though, is it takes 2, and a lot of the teams with the assets want to wait.
Well, that may be so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a little bit.
There's no rush.
It's just
you don't
a
have to
little
do
bit
this
early.
trade tomorrow.
It's a little bit early.
And the thing is, if
it's-
Watson's injury lingers, there's your answer. You're not giving up a second. If you're 2-5 and
Yeah.
Watson misses the next 3, what's the point?
Well, yeah, that is a different
then
story.
you hold
But-
your second pick
But
and you tank.
Mike said there was a reporter in Denver that was reporting that the Browns called the Broncos already.
Right.
So if that's true, now we don't know for sure that's true, but if it's true that the Browns called the Broncos, well, they're already getting aggressive.
Well,
Clearly.
yeah, but this is, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the month that all these calls are being made. The next couple of weeks, if you've got a feeler or you hear that a guy's on the market, you're at least throwing your hat in the ring with a preliminary phone call. That doesn't mean that there was an offer of assets. What it means is,
means
hey,
they're interested.
You're
we're
introducing
looking
yourselves.
and you're selling, and we want to be involved in the conversation. So don't do a deal without giving
Sure.
us
Yeah.
a chance to match
Sure.
whatever the offer is.
You're introducing yourself and laying the groundwork.
That's exactly what you're doing. And
when it
hopefully
comes
that is
around
going
later.
on right now with the Patriots, who, by the way, I can't explain.
Well, they have no talent.
They're awful.
Yeah.
They're awful. But 34-0, these are the 2 worst defeats in Bill Belichick's NFL coaching career in back-to-back weeks.
not being able to draft has come back to roost.
Yeah, he has been a terrible GM for a number of years now.
If you keep whiffing in the draft and you ain't got no talent,
And he keeps pulling Mac Jones, and then after the game saying he's still my number 1.
He's awful.
Well, it wasn't your number 1 when you were down 34-0.
ain't got nothing out
Look
there.
at Sean Payton without Drew Brees, and look at Bill Belichick without Tom Brady.
It's all about
Yeah,
the
I don't
quarterback.
think they're the same.
Well, they're both these great, legendary, brilliant mind coaches, and I still think Bill's a terrific coach.
That's what I'm saying.
Terrific
Bill
coach.
has genius
He's
credentials.
He's
They
still in
need
a class
reject,
of his own.
but he has them.
Yeah.
Sean Payton was smoking mirrors.
He's a fraud.
Drew Brees did it all.
Hey, I've said it for years. I'll always take the great quarterback over the great coach anytime.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the little exchange yesterday between Drew and Sean? Between
Stay humble.
Sean and Russ after Russ had the fumble
I did
that led
see
to a
that.
touchdown.
I did. He was screaming at him.
He does not care that he is Russ Wilson Diva Super Bowl quarterback winner. He doesn't care.
And I actually respect that. I don't care.
I do too.
I think that
Treat 'em
part-
all the same.
Yeah, but I still think he's a fraud of a coach. And Mike said it when they had the post game with Saleh, right, at midfield.
humble.
Yes.
Told him stay humble.
Oh, we did?
Well, do you remember in the offseason?
I
Sean
remember
Payton
the
made all
comments
those
he made about
comments.
Hackett.
You know what's funny is Hackett was a horrible coach.
He did a horrible
was.
job.
You know what?
He was horrible.
He was horrible, but if you're
You
a
don't say
fan
that.
of if you're a fan of karma,
This
Yeah.
coming from the man who says anything he
no,
wants.
that's why I'm saying. I'm glad he said that because when you're in a professional fraternity, and I kind of keep this with our fraternity, we're in a fraternity. There might be guys that I look at that have a lot of talent, that do a great job, and then there's other guys I look at that I think are hacks. But
Yeah.
I never I try to never go out and publicly on this forum say so-and-so's a hack.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're saying that I should not say Colin Cowherd's a fraud?
Yes, I am.
He's the most overrated person in the business. I shouldn't say that?
Now, mind you, I'm a personal friend of Colin, so that doesn't count.
I actually like his stuff.
I think Colin has figured out how to build an empire by knowing what the audience wants.
Yeah.
And also, you have to figure out this sometimes, what they don't want and giving them that too.
I like
and that's Skip, and Colin used to ask me all the time. He and Skip didn't have a good relationship, but he knew that we did. And we would work out a lot together. And he would constantly ask me questions about Skip's psyche. Because he knew Skip cracked the code.
Yeah.
And Colin wanted to coattail that brilliantly. He's a smart guy. And he was constantly asking questions about Skip. How he comes at certain things. What he decides to leave in the meeting room. And what he brings to TV. And Colin, I've watched him do it for the last 20 years, has deftly managed those landmines, because that's what the business we're in is loaded with landmines. Say the wrong thing one time, and you lose both your legs and probably your voice.
That's right.
And so it's my rule. I don't kill other guys in the business that do it.
I shouldn't do it either.
But as a head coach, it really bothers me when a head coach has something negative to say about another head coach.
You rarely see that.
You rarely see it, especially to that degree. He put an exclamation point. He put 10 exclamation points behind it.
Yeah.
The worst coaching job ever. Not just one of.
Yeah.
And that's including Frederick Charles Kitchens in that.
You got to think about it.
And Hugh Jackson.
And Pat Shermer.
Freddie was even worse.
What Stefanski did with Joe Woods. Joe Woods was out of here. He should have been out of here 3 years ago. But you know what he did? He didn't embarrass him in front of his peers.
Exactly.
He said, I'm going to let you finish it out.
And by the way, when Jim Schwartz came in, he probably looked at the tape, and he probably mumbled under his breath, or maybe to his players, holy cow, this was colossally bad.
By the way,
but he never said it.
By the way,
when you don't say anything, guess what happens? You get another job.
For the record, Joe Woods' defense played great yesterday.
I know they did, but after not playing so great against.
But Baker's the only quarterback that's done really well against them this year. Their defense has played pretty well so far this year.
They've been very good.
Hey, different coaches jive with different teams.
You're right about that. Different personnel, different everything. Yeah. All right, Mike.
We're going to move on tonight, though, at 3 o'clock. I should say this afternoon. The Barbershop is back. G. Bush is back with his regularly scheduled programming. It is no longer Mondays and Wednesdays. It is Mondays and Thursdays, but today's a Monday, which means G. Bush is on the UCSS YouTube channel from 3 to 4 o'clock, doing everything he does as well as anybody in the city. It is the Barbershop live on UCSS's YouTube channel tonight at 3.
G was not on his radio edition of the Barbershop.
What happened?
Oh, you went away, right? You went.
He was in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you do anything exciting in Canada?
I went to Niagara Falls with my mom and dad. We just
you guys have fun?
Yeah, it was cool. You told me it was.
Wait a minute. Did Rose Bush go too?
Oh, of course. She goes.
You kind of left that out.
No. Yeah. See, that's to be expected. She don't let me go to the bathroom by myself. You in
she
there?
knows your past.
You in there? What you doing? You good?
You on the phone?
Yeah,
Who you talking to?
You take your medicine?
Jake from State Farm?
How'd you like those pancake prices?
Oh, listen.
I told you. I told you.
Listen, these dudes said, look, the lady, we started calling ourselves trying to be fancy. I go to the little sky top thing you be in up there.
Nice.
Yeah. They slid that
Beautiful
boy to me. They said, I said, do you have apple juice? She was like, yeah, it's not refillable and it's $10.
What?
And it's this big.
And it's that big. No ice.
A shot glass.
I was like, man, this
is the greatest apple juice ever?
No,
it's just Niagara Falls apple juice.
Listen, then they took pictures. They get you. They be like, oh, man, beautiful family. Let's take these pictures. Chop.
And then they hit you with a bill for them later.
Oh, you get downstairs. They like, yeah, let me show you this. They draw you, and my mom and Rose is like, look at this. It comes in a black pamphlet. I'm like, this is not free. I guarantee they had it set up all nice. I'm like, this is
glossy photos, Photoshop,
4K,
filters. Everybody looks great.
10 pounds smaller. Everybody looking good. Heck yeah, I bought that dog.
What'd you give for a 5x8?
It was two of them was $60. She said your mother has to have one. That goes at the house. I'm like, bro, these
they got all the tricks. Your mother has to have one. Look how beautiful your mother looks. Are you not going to buy this for your mother? 10 years from now, you'll forget that it was $150.
This is crazy. Y'all was right, man. Bro. Y'all.
So Earl filled in hosting on the Barbershop, right, on the radio?
How'd it go, Earl?
I did not.
Yeah, he didn't. I would expect. See, Earl talks a lot on the barbershop. He's part of the show. He's like, he does. I look at him almost as a co-host. So Earl said, yeah. I said, man, what you talking about today, Earl? We'll listen to you. He said, I'm just producing today. I'm just only producing.
All right. Well, bad job out of the program director at 92.3 The Fan, because you think.
There's
that professional courtesy that we like to extend.
We just got done talking about this.
Wait, this is the gasoline in the match.
Wait a second.
Molotov.
Don't you think Earl should be hosting when
Listen,
Bush is not there?
That is absolutely a different conversation because we all know what's going on over there. And yes, we agree with that.
Surprised by that.
I would like to say that.
But we let the situation speak for itself.
I am filling in for King Carmen tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the morning. So if you're in your car, tune in 92.3thefan.com.
See, we're not afraid to talk about 92.3 The Fan on here, unlike they
shout
are
out
with
to
us.
them, man. I'll be on
Well,
tomorrow.
they have an
6 to
edict,
10.
don't they?
They have an edict,
Yeah. Which is weird because their edict is none of our guys can go on, yet you host shows over there.
And none of their guys are allowed on here.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
It's the shortest Cold War we've ever seen. Jason Lloyd, how do you feel about it?
I'm just drinking my coffee.
Yeah, I mean, these two guys
everybody's so
take
scared?
paychecks from both.
We're living in our fears here. Don't live in our fears.
us mercenaries.
No, we're living in 2 homes here.
With mortgages that have to be paid.
Listen, I'd hardly call what Jason gets from the Fan a paycheck. All right, let's keep it moving.
You just mentioned Fears Bowl.
Yeah.
And I do think that segues us right to our next quick topic before Lomas Brown joins us here at the top of the hour. But we saw the 49ers put a butt whooping on the Dallas Cowboys last night. 42-10 was the final. I said on the morning call, I thought it would be difficult to make a case for any team but San Francisco is the best team in football right now. But you said adamantly you don't think it's a slam dunk.
No, I mean, yes. If you ask me who's the best team in football, I'm going to say San Francisco. But I can make an argument for actually 2 other teams.
Philadelphia,
but that's not who would be my first choice.
Let me see. I think you'd probably try to make an argument for Miami.
Just
based on
their offense right now.
I think they're 1, 2, and 3.
Now I know
San Francisco, Philly, Miami.
Miami's offense stalled out the second half against Buffalo, but in 9 out of 10 halves so far this year, their offense has been completely unstoppable.
I agree.
And the only way to slow down the Miami offense at all is to get a massive pass rush. I can't even talk. And if you can't do that, you can't stop them. So, and Miami, while not quite as good as San Francisco defensively, they're better offensively. As good as San Francisco is offensively, Miami's better.
Did Patrick Mahomes get hit by a bus last night after the game?
No, it did run over his foot. And the reason I say that is because he hasn't been Patrick Mahomes.
I don't care. He's still Patrick Mahomes.
And you know what? I think he misses Tyreek Hill in a major way.
They won a Super Bowl without him last year.
I know they did, but still, their offense just does. They're great. I've got them at number 4. But their offense just doesn't look the same without Tyreek Hill.
No, I don't agree with that because last year their offense was the best in football. I don't think it's Tyreek Hill.
Did they miss him this year?
But it doesn't make sense.
Their receivers, you talk about a bunch of Jags.
Yeah. But they had a bunch of Jags last year, and they were the best offense in the league.
And somehow, Travis Kelce could carry you above all of that.
I think it's been a couple of things. Their offense hasn't looked as sharp. By the way, their defense looks great. Their defense looks really good. I know, it wasn't as good yesterday, but what was the final score of that game now? I can't remember.
Which one?
The Chiefs.
They won by 7?
27-20.
Right. They held on. Right. There was a weird call at the end of that game against the Vikings. But anyway.
Are we ready to talk about maybe the offensive coordinator had more to do there with the offense than we thought?
I think we got it. The Chiefs are slow starters. They've been slow starters every year. They got off to a bad start last year offensively.
They did, like the Bengals.
Remember, Kelce missed the game
and
then sprained his ankle yesterday and still played. So he hasn't been 100% yet. They do need Kelce. There's no doubt. If Kelce's not right, that's a problem.
Different comment. Yeah.
That's it. But
I look at it like this. I get it that you can get rid of Tyreek Hill and still win a Super Bowl, but the equivalent of counting on that is being in a car accident, and you say when you get in an accident you didn't have your seatbelt on, you'd be like, well, I didn't have my seatbelt on yesterday. Well,
no, that's not fair.
The circumstances
you have the best quarterback in football.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
That everything is year to year.
You can't win a Super Bowl and come back 2 years later and say, "Gosh, they really missed that guy."
Why can't you?
No,
That doesn't make any sense.
That don't make no sense. Just because
They won the Super Bowl, that doesn't mean anything. Just because they won the Super Bowl.
Winning a Super Bowl means usually one thing: you're not going back the next year.
So my thing.
But you're saying your example is like, well, you got lucky not to die. The Chiefs didn't get lucky to win the Super Bowl.
Well, no. Listen, your degree of difficulty goes up when you don't have extreme talent. Yes, you could win that year, but the next year doesn't mean everybody else didn't get better.
There's no arguing they would look better if Hill was in that offense.
Right.
There's no arguing.
Yeah.
Fine, but they look good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Last year. But
I
think G's point
we
is
talking about this year.
In the NFL is different.
I know that, but this year is 5 games, and I just told you they were a slow starter last year.
What's
more
last year?
What's more likely, that they're just off to a slow start and they're going to look great as the season goes along, or that last year was an anomaly that they won?
I don't think
it was an anomaly. I don't either.
They was the best team last year.
Saying they miss a guy who they won the Super Bowl without doesn't make any sense.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it does, because would they be, in your view, do you think they'd be a better offense if Tyreek Hill was
every
in that
team
offense?
would be a better offense with Tyreek.
So yes,
yes.
But they don't need him to win a Super Bowl. They already proved that. That's what I'm saying.
Last year. Can they do it again this year without him?
Yes.
Why not?
Of course.
We'll find out. We'll find out. But based on what I've seen so far, I'm not picking them.
Like if you look at it, we just talked about who is it this year. We talked about the top 2 teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and the 49ers, are head and shoulders better than everybody else right now. Head and shoulders.
I didn't include the Chiefs in the argument, which was my mistake. The Chiefs are right there. It's early.
Absolutely.
It's
I have
hard
Chiefs
to compare.
at 4, so I think
What's
they're
interesting,
absolutely in the conversation.
I don't want to spin this completely off where Mike was going. What's interesting, though, Miami needs home field, because Miami playing in the cold in January,
Ain't
I
gonna
don't
work.
think that offense is going to look the same going to Buffalo or Kansas City.
No, it will
in
not travel
January.
well.
They need home field throughout, and
I
don't
would
know if they're
still,
going to get it.
And they know that, too.
Yeah.
If the playoffs started today, I'd still take the Chiefs in the AFC.
I would too. Yeah,
100%.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big believer of if you're wearing the crown, you deserve that respect.
When's the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game?
But what I will say is, just based on the look test, and it's only through 5 weeks, but just based on the look test, the Niners and Eagles are doing it at a different level, with the Dolphins right there, just barely behind them, and then the Chiefs barely behind the Dolphins.
But who's looking the best in October is meaningless.
Absolutely.
It's who's the best when it matters.
I agree with that. And I will say that Kelsey, he's starting to look like he's 34. What is he? 30 what? 30,
Well, he's been hurt.
32,
I don't know.
32, I believe. I'll double check.
He's in his early 30s, I think.
When you start he got the ankle injury.
Maybe 31.
He missed the first few games this season.
He's got groupie legs now.
Yeah, now he's right. Stop hanging out before the games.
Okay.
Hey, bro, listen. You
34.
better save your energy,
Just
Travis.
turned 34.
You're doing way too much.
He was 33 3 days ago.
So,
Well, it's funny. You turn 34 and you just
he's 34. Listen, yeah, he the number one. I would like to see, for me, I would like to have, if I was Andy Reid, I would like to have another guy who is a receiver or another receiving guy.
Oh, they would love that.
That could age him gracefully.
Sure.
Like, right now, it looked like he's just the only target. It is, and Mahomes is great, but his body looked like it's just, he got a lot of commercials too.
It's almost like teams are saying, well, your wide receivers don't scare us. We'll give Kelsey his.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep you out of the end zone, but nobody else on this offense is going to beat us. Bull, you heard something on the radio this morning about San Francisco.
This is
that
fascinating,
you wanted
guys.
to share.
So Joe Thomas was on with Ken and Lyman this morning. Those guys did an excellent job. It was a very good interview. Lima asked him, what is it about, because Kyle Shanahan obviously was here. And then he did the famous PowerPoint to get himself out of Cleveland. But anyway.
Maybe one of the smartest things
he
he's
said,
ever
what
done.
makes Kyle Shanahan different? Why is he seem, along with Mike McDaniel, who worked under Kyle Shanahan, why do those guys seem to be at this kind of different level in terms of calling offense?
Right.
And this is what Joe Thomas said. I didn't know this, and this was so obvious once you knew this. He said most offensive coordinators come from the skill position background. Like they were quarterbacks or they've been quarterback coaches, and they come out of that vein. And they're clueless as to the offensive line. So on a lot of teams, you have the head coach or the offensive coordinator is basically the passing game coordinator, And then when you need a run play, he'll call over to the offensive line coach and say, well, what do we run here? You know what I mean?
Right.
Basically, the offensive line coach is running the running game.
The run game coordinator.
And when you have two guys doing that, it's not going to be perfectly in sync.
You can't be in sync because
No.
it's two minds.
Kyle Shanahan is the only coach that Joe Thomas ever had, and obviously Joe had a lot of offensive coaches
Yes, he
because they
did.
changed the coaches a lot. He said he's the only coach I ever had who came in and he knew the offensive line inside and out.
As they all should.
So he was able to call the plays in sync, in rhythm. The pass and the run flowed together better because he understood how to be in charge of both the running game and the passing game. And when you think about that, you're like, well, that's obvious that would make. But who would have thought about that? You know, it's something you wouldn't think about that, oh, well, these coaches. I didn't think that a lot of coaches didn't really know the offensive line. I assumed if you were an offensive coordinator, you knew the offense inside and out. Apparently, that's not the case.
Interesting.
And that is fascinating, and that's what gives him and Mike McDaniel, who learned under him, these big edges.
Yeah. I would think Andy Reid knows the offensive line. That was his background. I would think that
Another great offensive
he's an
play
offensive
caller.
guru. I just think that there are guys that are smarter. You know, when you look at Belichick, now granted he's having an awful year this year, but throughout the body of his career, everyone's looked at him as a genius who's playing it on a different level.
On defense.
Defense, yes, but even on the offense. I mean, there were times where and all of his offensive coordinators were coming and going, taking head coaching jobs, failing, coming back. And the offense, through all of that, rarely missed a beat.
Because of Tom Brady.
Well, Tom Brady is the great eraser. But I also think that, like, when you look at Shanahan, I think generally he's looked at as a genius. Like, we look at him as we look at Andy Reid on offense, and maybe there is something to that, Bull. I don't know how many.
It was fascinating. Who was he? He was the OC under Hugh, right? No,
Mike
before
Patton.
that.
Oh, Patton, right.
Do you know the ins and outs of the infamous PowerPoint presentation? What do you know about that story? I've heard so many different versions of it. I don't know what's really true.
They should have fired everybody else and made him the coach.
Well, guess what?
That would have been beautiful.
He wasn't wrong.
No, he wasn't.
There was. I'm trying to be very careful here.
I know you are.
Oh,
You
boy.
think about it. and
There was. I know we were going to go here, but I should have thought about that. Kyle and Ray did not
see eye to eye
at all.
Right, and I'd heard that.
At all.
I'd heard that.
That was. I didn't realize how deep.
And
that
by the way,
went.
where is Ray?
Atlanta. No, he's in Atlanta.
Okay.
Oh,
He's
is
with
he
Falcons.
still in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard, maybe to take you off because I heard, not from you, so I'm not stealing your sources, but I heard from someone reliable that basically outside of Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan hated everybody else in the Browns organization. That's what I heard.
Well,
he thought
heard.
nobody else was
What I
any good in
heard
the entire
was
organization.
He showed why the organization has been in a tailspin forever.
Yes.
And he gave names and examples of people that were undercutting the franchise's success that had to go. And he was shown the door.
I actually asked Kyle about that at the owners' meetings in March.
Really?
Yeah, and he didn't really want to talk about it very much.
I can't imagine that he would because,
No,
again,
he's
we talked
moved
about
on.
this earlier. You want to stay employed, whether at your present job or
Right.
you want to be hireable somewhere else.
Right. We were looking into a story on the Browns, and ultimately we didn't really do a whole lot. It just didn't come together, and so that was part of it. Was that PowerPoint presentation of that whole era? And so we kind of were digging in.
Wouldn't you love to get your hands on that now?
I'm sure he still has.
Because
somewhere.
hindsight always, it always shines a light on what was true and what in the moment it might have been debatable.
Yeah.
But history is always going to show
Yeah.
whether or not that was right.
Right.
Or
The
that
truth
was
always
wrong.
comes out.
Now, he's still got to win a Super Bowl.
Based on now, you're right. He was
Yeah.
up 28-3 in the Super Bowl, and all that offensive genius escaped him.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is when I say history always tells the proper tale, to me, we have the benefit of the last 7 years' results, what he's done and what the Browns have done. And that's why I'm saying, because I've heard stories. Some of them, to me, sound like they're Paul Bunyan tales. Some of what I heard, I said at the time, there's no way he did that. There's no way he did that. But, so I don't know. I don't know what's true and what's, this sort of mythical,
Right.
Legend that has built itself up. But the reason I'd say I would love to see that PowerPoint now, because everything that he said, now with the benefits of the results, is either provably true or false.
Well, here's the thing. Would Kyle Shanahan be this good of a head coach if he was the head coach of the Browns?
There's no way of knowing because of all the outside influences.
I say
no. Now,
right.
but I think he knew that.
Yes.
He looked around. I think I've told this story to you a number of times where I've had NFL lifers, guys that have covered the league since the 90s, all kind of cornered me and were bullying me once at ESPN, saying, Jay, you got to divorce this team. You're killing yourself.
You can't divorce it.
I know you can't. And that's what I told them. And they all said, normally, your team is your team. You're born that way. You die that way. But they were all saying, we like you. You're torturing yourself. Hear us all when we collectively tell you this organization is always going to be where they are right now. They can't figure out success. And if they ever do, they won't be able to sustain it long term. And I'm wondering if Kyle Shanahan, growing up in the sport with his dad as a head coach, knowing what he knows, talking to his father, telling him what was going on in the building, he probably came to the same conclusion that these guys all had. It's never going to work with these pieces in place, and those pieces are immovable.
I've had players tell me again this year, it's not a coincidence our best year was 2020 under this regime. That's not a coincidence because there was nobody else in the building, and it was all football all the time.
Nobody to get in the way.
They're still talking about that.
Yeah.
That 2020 not coming back, fellas.
You're right. You're right.
You're
right.
And when you have a bad owner, you have to overcome a bad owner. That's just part of it.
But that is the most, in my view.
Yeah.
Because he's not fireable, tradable, and he's always going to be there. And that's was the point that my buddies at ESPN were telling me. You're stuck. You're stuck. If the team ever changes hands and you want to come back, you should. But we're trying to save you another decade of heartbreak, misery, and failure because it is what it is, and it is not going to change.
But at what point, fellas, is do you get some? You know, I look at these other organizations. You get an opportunity to put your stamp on it, right? They've given Kevin Stefanski. I don't see them holding them back from being like, "Hey, here's this player. He wanted him." No, they went and got his quarterback. When they wanted to get rid of Baker, guess what? They got rid of Baker. When Odell Beckham Jr. wasn't doing what he was supposed to, they never said, "Oh, hold on."
No, it's not a pass for everybody.
No. I'm just saying. He's gotten.
Let me tell you, ownership was 1,000% on board with moving on from Baker. 1,000%.
Well, yeah.
So that you're making it sound like it was a Kevin thing, wanting rid of Baker and wanting to go.
No, I don't think anybody thought that.
I'm just saying.
I thought that's what. Maybe I misunderstood.
No, I'm just saying that he's been put in a position where. It hasn't. I don't think the organization has told him he couldn't have anything.
There's no more excuses.
No, they'll provide financially.
We all know Jimmy's not a good owner, but he does spend money.
They'll provide whatever you need financially.
And
that's not a recipe to win.
And my thing, I've always wondered this, and you tell me if I'm crazy for this. Like, I know offensive coordinators want their own identity or whatever the case may be, but listen, I believe in plagiarism 1,000%. If I'm watching Shanahan, McVay, this is a buffet. Hey, I'm going week to week. I love that play. Hey, Callahan, hey, how we gonna run that up? What we doing? Hey, receivers coach, tell me how we can run this little motion thing. I'm stealing all of that.
Watching the Niners last night, it just felt, and they're not even the Dolphins, but it felt like speed on top of speed on top of speed. Like
moving.
Guys are moving faster than I see in Browns games. They're just moving faster.
Hey, you're right. I'll be asking myself, come on, it's bias, G. Bush. You biased right now. Everybody, I had the inner Adam the Bull in my head. Everybody's not moving that fast, G.
Last night it felt like it was just speed on speed.
Here's what last night when I watched the Dolphins a little bit, I watched the Niners, and I just thought, okay, so Miami has Hill and Achane and Waddle. And then I watched the Niners. And then I watched the Niners, and I'm like, okay, so they have Debo and McCaffrey, this backup running back that has very few carries. He's averaging 5.7 yards. And I thought to myself, well, we do have Bell, DPJ, and we did have Schwartz. Like, it's different, guys. It's different. And here's what has to change. And I know it's like everybody was trying to get the defenses up to speed. But it has been so neglected, the offense. Who are the stars that were drafted by this regime on offense? None.
Listen, the bottom line is we said there's no excuses, okay? Nick Chubb got hurt. Tough. You got Deshaun Watson. The Browns have to win. If they don't win, Stefanski's ass is out of here, and so is Berry, and there's no excuse for either of them.
Haslam's staying.
What are you going to do?
The whole part of this conversation was, when I started it, and I asked you about Shanahan, it might, again, prove that what Shanahan was saying is, I'll take this job under one circumstance. You get out of my way, you get out of my way, you definitely get the hell out of my way and out of the building. You out of my way, let me do it, and we'll win.
Yeah.
And Haslam had a chance, and he said, no, you go on and do big things with other teams.
Go ahead, Mike. You got to read, and then I'll come back.
Let me just get a read. We're going to bring Lomas as soon as he gets here, Jay, if you want to reach out. And
I texted him. I'm not hearing from him.
He's still good. But let me get a read, and we get right back to this conversation. But we do have to oblige by our sponsor requirements. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, giving you peace of mind in emergency situations. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication at hand, and it's simple. They handle everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. So don't get caught unprepared. Get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout at jacemedical.com. That is JASE medical.com.
To that point you just made, and you say what you want about Josh McDaniels. I know he hasn't fared well.
He's awful.
But that was what he told them in his interview was you need to gut the entire building. Everybody goes, and I decide who stays and who goes.
Yeah, but that would have been bad also.
But his point
in that
was,
case, because he's not the man to fix it.
Right.
But
his
it's
point
interesting
was,
that 2 different people came to the same conclusion.
Yeah, Josh's point was you have
can
to purge
identify
the
that
building.
something's broken. That doesn't mean you can fix it.
That's right.
And I think in Shanahan's case, he looked around the room and he goes, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot when it comes to getting this job. But the last thing I want to do is take this job, go 4-12 in back-to-back years because my hands were tied behind my back, and then never get another job. So I thought he wisely assessed the situation and said, I'll take the job, but here's the circumstance. I can't have him meddling. I don't want him in the organization. This thing is broken. We got to fix it. From the top down, we've got to fix it.
Yeah.
And they heard that, and they said, no, we're good.
But in the end, debating what the owner's flaws, like we know his flaws, there's nothing we can do about it. So what's the point? I mean, it's like, what are we going to do?
Well, but
you got to overcome
discuss it and
There's
be more
other
miserable. That's
there's
it.
other bad owners. Jerry Jones is a bad owner. Mike Brown's a bad owner. You know, I mean, you got.
Well, if you put your foot in Joe Burrow in the draft and you just step in it,
well, that's it.
You can't mess that up.
Again, if Deshaun Watson has to be able to overcome the bad ownership as well as other things, and if he, but
is that the most difficult thing to overcome?
I
Because
think
we talk about
so.
a bad quarterback, you can change. A bad coach, you can change. I honestly think that the worst situation you can be in is being a bad ownership situation.
It's bad.
Because it's never going to fix itself.
Right, but-
If we all banded together, all the Browns fans,
yeah.
and we stood outside the stadium and no one went inside for a game, and we all picketed with signs, sell the team, sell the team. You know what he'd say? Nah, I'm good.
yeah.
You know what's
And what are you going to do?
What's funny
We
is
keep supporting it because we love this team.
what's funny is I remember when Haslam bought the team. We were all excited at the
I
time.
was.
Because
I
the last
bought it.
owner sucked.
And he had been with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Hey, do y'all
Right.
remember- hey,
So he knows what it looks like.
Yeah.
People in Milwaukee think he's a great owner.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, he just got Damian Lillard.
Well, he's not the majority owner, is he?
It's a split.
No.
It's a split.
Yeah.
It's a joint.
But he's big.
But guess
It's had a
what?
lot to do with writing
Got
good
that
checks.
Dame,
Let them-
got Dame Dollar in there.
Yeah.
Give me somebody. Give me a tackle,
Jimmy bought into the team. They had to fire the coach. That's
right.
unbelievable.
Hey, give me a tackle, Jimmy. Come on, dog.
We're waiting on Lomas. I've texted him. I've called him. I'm not getting any answer. I hope he's okay. I don't know what's going on. So
Yeah.
let's do this. We'll to your point, we'll move Baker up, and if Lomas is available, we'll do Lomas on the backside.
Last
of
thing
it.
before we get to Baker.
Okay.
Isn't it funny that obviously John Lynch was basically hired by Shanahan to be the GM of the
John
Niners.
Lynch is a genius, by the way.
They worked together, right, hand in
Yep.
hand. They made one of the worst trades we've seen in modern
Yes.
years.
Well,
Yes.
what was it? The Trey Lance?
Trey Lance?
Trey
Yeah,
Lance.
I thought it was. But here's what they did, guys.
Yeah.
They made a bad pick. Okay, they realized,
Well, not only that, but they gave up
the draft capital.
2 picks
I know
to get
they
him.
did.
Yeah.
Awful decision.
And yet it hasn't hurt them at all.
But you know why? In part, they cut bait on him and they moved on. Now, it's one thing to make a bad decision, but we said that the Browns doubled down on a bad decision by giving Jed Wills the 5th year. Now they're tripling down on a bad decision by keep trotting a guy out there that looks like he's playing in a potato sack. So when you make a bad decision,
Yeah.
it's incumbent on getting yourself out of that situation as fast as you can.
Well, had they not fallen into Brock Purdy, we might be having a very different conversation
Can I
say that? Can we literally, if a man goes to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G, then he draft Trey Lance and was like, you ain't good, and then he comes with Brock Purdy, who's a 7th-round pick, last pick in the draft.
Yeah. It has something to do with the
At some point in time, don't you got to give the man credit for saying
100%.
Yes. I make quarterback. That's the real quarterback.
What I'm saying is that, like, it's remarkable that they made one of the worst trades of the past 20 years.
You're right.
And it's a non-factor.
And not even the trade, it was the draft pick, too. It was
the combo of the two.
The combo of the two, it was just all-time awful.
Now,
and you know what they did? Once they realized, and they gave them 2 really good chances to be good, once they realized we made a terrible mistake, they washed the dirt off their hands.
In fairness, I would argue they never really – Trey Lance has barely played.
When he has played, he has not been that
but
guy.
he's not been enough.
They were saying something interesting last night in the telecast that I wanted to ask you guys about. Chris Collinsworth was talking about the processor, even Tariq, about how, okay, well, what is it? Why is this guy this guy? And they all couldn't say enough about how fast he processes everything. How he's going, 1 read's not there, 2 reads not there, boom. Making the right call at the line of scrimmage, seeing what the defense is in, finding out the best spot, and they even said at one point that he will be the first to tell you that he doesn't have the strongest arm.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have this, all-time great quarterback skill set. What he has is a microchip that processes things at AI speed.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, after hearing that conversation, and I've always thought this because I thought Bernie was the same guy. Not only was Bernie not gifted skills from a skill set, he was handicapped with his skill set. He was able to overcome it with his processor.
Yeah.
How many games do you guys think Trey Lance has started in the NFL?
9?
I would say 6 or 7.
Single digits.
Like 8?
4 games.
4.
So he never. No, that's not. That's not enough.
And I think the reason the Niners felt they saw enough is because Garoppolo having success with Shanahan. Shanahan knows he's looking at this guy going, he's just not it.
I think the Purdy element is what allowed them to cut bait on Lance.
But I think it was I think somebody else should give him a chance at some point.
Oh, he will.
I think he'll get another chance.
He's only thrown like 100 passes.
He's going to get another chance.
He will absolutely get another chance. But he's 3 on the depth chart in Dallas.
Yeah.
So
that's where he should be because he didn't play a lot of high-level ball in college either.
He'll get another chance at some point.
Okay.
Well, if anyone's had a couple of chances in the NFL from a high-round pick to then being a journeyman to then finding his feet again, it's Baker Mayfield. We've seen him have his time in Cleveland, go to Carolina, flame out, had a couple moments in Los Angeles, and is now playing pretty well for the Bucs. He was on the Pat McAfee show on Friday, guys, previewing you can't say it's the Red River rivalry now. It's not the Red River shootout. The Red River rivalry, Oklahoma versus Texas. Did you guys hear the comments? If not, we're going to play them.
I did,
you,
but for the
go ahead,
audience
play
that
it.
didn't hear
if you
them.
didn't hear, this is Baker Mayfield on his situation and how it ended in Cleveland on the Pat McAfee show from Friday. Anthony.
To be the Cleveland Browns quarterback that is able to win a playoff game in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. So not only go to the playoffs, win a playoff game against the Steelers, it felt like at that moment we were all like, well, football gods just said, hey, this guy's going to be in Cleveland forever. Yep. This is the Browns guy. This is his moment. And then just a couple years later, you're to the Panthers, and then you're to the Rams, and now you're the Bucs. Did you feel a moment in time, you don't have to say exactly when it was, where you knew maybe this wasn't going to be my forever home? And what was it from the outside looking in? We're very confused by it all. Just want to let you know that.
I think I'm still confused too.
Okay.
Makes sense.
No, I think towards the end there, I played 2021 with a pretty much torn apart shoulder, and I was excited to be, get the surgery, get healthy, and get another shot to try and get back to that 2020 form. But that wasn't their plan, and I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason. Now, the roller coaster I went on after that was a little bit nuts for me, but it gave me a good perspective. Being in Carolina, trying to be a good mentor to a couple guys, and just a different perspective on it. Take a step back, be a good leader, and then also at the same time, then going to LA, it was like, all right, looking at each other. I got a 5-game season here. Let's make the most of it and pad the resume.
Is anybody, Pat McAfee says we're all confused. Is anybody actually confused besides Pat McAfee?
I still have questions.
I think the national media is be confused about it.
Yeah, because they weren't in the minutia of all the stuff that was going on.
No, I think most people that cover football realize you have to have a top quarterback to win. Baker was clearly not a top quarterback. The Browns took a chance on a guy who's had off-field problems because he's been that kind of quarterback before he got here.
Well,
it makes perfect sense. Whether it works out or not is another story, but it made perfect sense.
I think at the 10,000 feet, like a lot of players are not sitting here game to game watching film.
Yeah.
They just know, well, he know, hey, the Browns have been trash. They went to Pittsburgh. They won a game in Pittsburgh. You're number one pick. I thought they think it's a foregone conclusion that you get another year. Like Daniel Jones, right? Hey, you won a playoff game last year. You just automatically get the bag, right? It don't matter if we think you that good. Quarterbacks that are number one picks that win playoff games usually don't get jettisoned.
You know another first-round pick that won a playoff game in Pittsburgh? Tim Tebow.
You haven't said anything yet. What's your thought? Do you think that in general, that not in Cleveland, because I think Clevelanders quickly picked a camp, and they put their flag in the ground, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to talk me out of it,
right?
Whether you were pro Baker or against Baker.
It was unbelievably polarizing.
I said this before. The only situation, that's why it's really interesting that you brought up that Tim Tebow won a playoff game. Tim Tebow is the only player, and his was on a national scale, that I've seen that's more polarizing than Baker Mayfield.
That's probably, yeah.
But
for
Tim
different
Tebow
reasons.
wasn't any good. He was only polarizing because he was popular. He couldn't play in the NFL.
You've insisted that Baker isn't any good.
No, I've insisted that Baker's not a top 20 starter.
Okay, if you're in the bottom 12, you're not any good by your own standards.
Well, there's a big difference between Tim Tebow's not an NFL quarterback. Baker Mayfield is, in my opinion, a lower-tier starting quarterback.
Right.
And you can't win with that guy. That's a big difference between Tim Tebow, who's not an NFL quarterback.
Go ahead.
Well, I think probably around the country, some people probably don't pay that close of attention to the Browns, and they're probably curious. But I think if you lived it, you know. Baker knows exactly why he's not here. I'm a little confused. Well, you asked for a trade, number one. Now, there was a lot of reasons that led to that.
Yeah,
there's a lot
he didn't
that
come out of the blue and say, trade me.
But I almost liken it to why I was saying you need to go after Jonathan Taylor, because there was something that was clearly better that was out there than what you had currently. If none of this happened with Deshaun Watson, if Deshaun never asked for a trade from Houston in the first place, take away all of the allegations and everything, go back before all that. If he doesn't ask for a trade out of Houston and that whole thing unravels, Baker probably is still back here because there was nobody out there that was clearly head and shoulders better.
And Kevin had
than
said,
what the
I can
Browns
move
had.
forward with this guy.
Yeah, I think that the Browns felt like the reason they targeted Deshaun was they felt like he was head and shoulders clearly better than Baker, and they had the numbers to back it up. Now, has it panned out that way? No, not to this point it hasn't. We still got a long way to go.
Right.
But to this point, he hasn't been demonstrably
Deshaun's numbers
better.
have been Baker Mayfield-esque in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
very Baker
I can go back. I was just trying to pull it up. I can't find them, but I've written about this a million times. Throw the shoulder injury out. Just look at his late game situations. Baker's late game.
Not performing.
Got to have it moments.
Yep.
And there was always an excuse. The Kansas City game, he had to drive him down the field through the interception. Well, he was tripped. Or there was always an excuse attached to it. The fact is, he could never deliver and got to have it moments when you need your quarterback the most. And that's why I'm to take this back to the Purdy thing. I'm really curious to see how does Purdy react in those situations when the Niners are against a really good team. Yeah, when you're in a late game, got to have it. You're at the 15 and you got to drive and score, and you got 88 seconds to do it. How do you respond?
Right.
Baker can't handle those situations, and that's why they moved on from him. He just didn't have it. Now, he could have a wonderful year in Tampa. He could put up great numbers this year, and the Master Bakers are going to take a victory lap, and that's fine.
It's already.
But
he's on his way to that.
But yes, well, he's
at the quarter pole. He's on his way. You could be still in the starting gate, and he's clearly not.
Yeah, we're quarter way in, and he's played great, and he could have a wonderful statistical year. That doesn't mean next year he's going to come back and do it again, because history has shown with him it's that level of consistency week to week to week and year to year to year that he does not possess. So I'm never going to kill the Browns. Now, maybe we get to the point where we look back and say that was a mistake. But I'm not going to kill them for that because I was all in favor. Yeah. I didn't think Baker had it. I think I was the first in town to say this is not it. They have to do better than that.
It would never have been a mistake to improve for Baker.
You might have been
a mistake to improve.
Yeah, I got Duke and knee-jerk.
After the Chiefs game is the first time I thought, I'm not sure this guy is it. And he had great numbers that game. No, the opener.
The opener.
The 21 opener. I was talking to people after that game. I'm like, that game's on 6. Like, he lost them that game. I don't care what his numbers were, first through third quarters. He lost them that game in the fourth quarter.
Well, I look at it. I keep just reaching. We go down the timeline. Now, look, Baker has been to other places. He got another opportunity to do his thing. But everything that you said for Baker, you can say for Stefanski. Since he's been here, It's about the week to week to week to week ups, downs.
With 6 different quarterbacks?
6 different quarterbacks, right?
I mean, he's had them all.
So
Stefanski has.
He's had 6 different quarterbacks. Here's the thing. I'll look at it, and I said, when you going to start stringing, besides the 2020 season, it's win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 2, win 1, lose 1. Where is the consistency of putting those games together?
It only happened in 2020.
Only happened
they won
in 2020.
4 games in a row twice.
And so now we look at it, and I'm looking at it from a standpoint of saying, okay, where's your signature win?
Right. But the question was about the question about Baker, though. Circling back to that.
Yeah.
Are you rooting for Baker in Tampa?
I don't root for nobody. I ain't a fan.
You don't really?
Nah. What I do is I look at it and I just be objective on it. If he's balling, I just say he balling. That's what the film say. I'm married to the film. Even if I don't really per se like you or like
but
you,
you're human. You have to be like, oh, it's good to see so-and-so rise above it. Dak's story in Dallas and his life is so incredible. I always root for him, but I always know what I'm going to get.
I always say this. The football is the greatest sport in the world because it don't matter what I say about you or anybody else. You get an opportunity to shut everybody up. You can come out here and ball, and I got to say.
But you root for guys, don't you?
I root for the Browns.
That's it.
Yeah,
Outside of the Browns.
All right, so you're rooting for Baker.
Let me ask you this. Do you ever actively root against someone? I want this guy to fail.
The Steelers. Anyone who wears black and yellow.
That's an example.
The people in my division, I don't be wanting to see the division.
So you do want them to perform poorly.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like individuals.
No, but I enjoy the game.
Danny Dimes. I'm ambivalent about him. I don't care what the hell
I'll give you this. If you got, I enjoy people who got really good talent. So Michael Parsons, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll watch him because he's really good. I'm like, yo, I'm a fan of it.
And you appreciate it.
And I appreciate it. I'm appreciative of the skill in the game. I wouldn't say that I root for anybody actively except for the Browns. That's why I be just doing too much.
I am actively rooting against Baker Mayfield.
We know. We know.
That was and here's the thing about that. It's a personal choice. That's your choice. You can do that whatever you want. By the way, it doesn't affect how they play. I mean, we all know that.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb is, and are there exceptions? Of course. But in general, if it's easy to root for everybody. I want everybody to do well. But you can't have the teams in your division do well. So I actively root against the Steelers and the Ravens. I found myself, I felt like I needed a shower after that Steelers game because I was rooting for Pittsburgh.
It was disgusting.
I just felt like, can I wash this stink off
You were rooting for Pittsburgh, huh?
Yeah, well, you had to. The standings dictated that we had to be Steelers fans yesterday.
Yeah.
And I felt gross as hell about it. Outside of that, and you'll hear a lot of pro athletes say this, I don't root for teams, I root for my former teammates that I know and I play with. When you cover the sport for as long as I have and you guys have been around it, you meet people that are just easy to root for. I like that guy. Dak is one of them that I just, every time I watch him, I'm like, come on, man, don't mess this up.
What comes to mind is Alex Smith when he broke his leg.
Yes. Well, the whole world was.
Like Alex Smith, I was like, I wanted to see him come back and play well.
I've met Baker a number of times, worked with his wife. Baker's not an easy guy to root for. He's just not. He says the wrong thing at the wrong time. To your point, I need my quarterback in the top 5 lists of skills. I think 1 or 2 has to be better in the clutch than the first quarter.
Yeah,
I need that. He was never that guy, and he and I personally never had any bad dealings. I never said anything that he felt he had to reach out about. There were a couple of times he actually reached out to ask questions about certain things, but he's not an easy guy to root for. But the guy I saw in that McAfee clip, to me, I think he showed a little bit of maturity. Because I thought, when I first saw that the clip was posted, I thought, here comes the grenade.
Yep.
He's feeling himself. He's having a good year. Here it comes. Because we falsely reported a comment that Baker didn't make that we thought, here he goes again.
That's Elon Musk's fault.
We all believed it for one reason. Because it fit his mold. It fit his character.
But, Jay, have you ever seen a player smell themselves more without accomplishing while accomplishing that little?
Absolutely.
Who?
Absolutely.
Who? Name
players that have felt. Well, you're putting me on the spot right now.
Johnny Manziel.
You're asking me players who felt they were great and they sucked?
Most
the list is long.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
The list.
I'm saying the guy. Every time he has a game or two where he plays well, he's out there bragging.
You're making my point
all the time.
You're helping me make my point.
He's been humbled the last couple of years.
And that's my point.
Yes.
So you
humbled
both made my point.
when he says, "Oh, I don't know what happened in Cleveland." He's always the victim.
No, Bull, you're looking for something that isn't there on this instance. Because to your first point, that's why I'm saying it's hard for me to actively root for this guy because he's been that guy.
Right.
What I saw Friday on the McAfee show, to your point, and the point I started making originally was he handled it differently. He could have taken a small victory lap and said, you know what, I don't even think about those guys because they are where they are and we are where we are and I like where I am a lot better. He could have.
Yeah.
But you know what he said? Yeah, I really don't know what happened there. And then he went on to say, I played with a mangled shoulder all year and thought I would get a little leeway for that, and they ran me out of town.
Yeah.
Speaking of a guy with a
I thought it
terrible
was
shoulder,
a little bit more mature than the old Baker.
Who's got a terrible shoulder?
Deshaun Watson.
Speaking of shoulders, I have a Deshaun Watson update for you guys, and we're going to bring this update to you, brought to us by the UCSS YouTube channel. If you're out there watching the show today, we appreciate you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It is completely, totally, 100% free. Do yourselves a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Help us out. It does a long way for making UCSS get out to all the people in the YouTube algorithm. So do us a favor. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Kevin Stefanski's talking to the media right now, and he was asked about Deshaun Watson and how his rehab is going. And Mary Kay Cabot tweeted out, and I'll read Jake's next, but he said, quote, Deshaun will be out there as soon as he's ready and functionally ready, end quote. And you can take this Jake Trotter tweet full. Stefanski said Watson didn't practice today as, quote, part of his rehab. He would not comment on the chance that Watson does or doesn't play against
that's not good.
San
That's not
Francisco.
good.
Well, I actually think that's smart. After all the
After why did Berry last week say he's expecting him to play this
That's
week?
what I had a problem with in real time.
That was weird.
Well, I forgot that Andrew said that. I think that they're taking the approach this week of, listen, we're just not going to talk about this.
Yeah,
we
radio
got so much
silence.
trouble last
We'll
time.
keep all the injury stuff in the locker room.
Yeah.
Don't share the media.
Yeah.
Don't tell Mary Kay Cabot you're going to play because you raised expectations falsely, needlessly.
Right.
So, that's what I would expect
They're going to
him
let
to
the
say.
injury report do the
However,
talking this week.
what he could have said that I didn't hear, and you can say that without giving anything away, we feel really good about where he is.
He's
That doesn't say
Maybe
anything.
they don't feel really good about where he is.
Well, sometimes sometimes what's not said drowns out what is said, and that might be one of the cases.
We had, real quick, G, and you were part of the interview on Friday, we had Dr. Jesse Morris on the show talking about the injury itself, the rehab process, and what goes into being comfortable throwing the football again from that. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on our YouTube page. He seemed to think that Watson, based on the timetable of recovery, would be back for Sunday.
I know, but I said at the time, you got to be really careful with doctors making general sweeping statements on somebody they haven't even looked at.
He was basing that on the information he has, which is not all the information.
It's a sliver of information.
I mean, again, they thought he was going to play against Baltimore, but the guys I talked to in the locker room, there was no question he was going to play against San Francisco. Like, not even.
I don't think we should panic until Wednesday. If Wednesday he doesn't practice, then it's a big problem.
I think there's a different things. It's a canyon between not caring and not panicking and being cautious about a shoulder injury and the guy can't throw the football. I keep telling people, and I don't know what he has, but hey, listen, I got nerve damage. I know what it is to be like, you know what, this arm don't work today. Like, if he could be the strongest man in the world. Tell that to a nerve. Like, we ain't talking muscles. We talking like, hey, I can't fire. I can't, but the electrical impulses going down my arm will not let me get the thrust and trajectory I need to be a competent football player. Not to mention, I'm not saying this is what's going on with him, but what I am saying is, you playing the 49ers, you know what they about to bring. Like, when you talk about speed, when you talk about physicality, when you talk about bringing it, they got the D-line, you have troubles up front. For me, I said it on UCS channel. You can go back and watch it. I said it 2 weeks ago when he was injured. I said, I don't like it. I just don't. I don't like the vibes. And I think when people don't understand, it's your throwing shoulder. It's not a labrum on the other side. And you see Baker, he said, man, my shoulder was trash last year. I couldn't do nothing with it. So for me, I'm not going to panic and jump off the top of the building in KYC, but would I like my quarterback to be playing or practicing today? Sure. We'll see what's going on Wednesday.
Well, we can ask a guy who's been through a week of NFL practice, and that is our next guest. It is Johnny Stanton IV, the former fullback of the Cleveland Browns, who is launched it already, Athletics Check, which is a new, I'm going to call it an internet series. It's on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you find Dungeons and Dragons and football mixed together, you'll find Johnny Stanton IV talking about it. And let's bring him in, the former fullback of the Cleveland Browns, the host of Athletics Check. It is Johnny Stanton IV. What's up, Johnny?
We can't hear Johnny, unfortunately.
See if his microphone is muted.
We had audio 1 second ago.
We did have audio. Okay. Johnny, we're working on it.
We'll get him back in. I love that Johnny is a self-proclaimed nerd. We need more.
I know.
I know some people hate analytics, but I like nerds.
I don't consider analytics nerds. Dungeons and Dragons, yes. And I know that's right up his alley.
You never played Dungeons and Dragons?
Not once.
Any of you guys?
Not once.
G. Bush, I feel like you might have played.
I knew G. Bush had. But I bet he's not into it still.
We should, you know what we're going to do? We're going to ask Johnny Stanton who on this panel he thinks has played Dungeons and Dragons.
We just gave it away. If he can hear
us. Could he hear us?
We can't hear him. He could probably hear us.
I'm testing right now.
Oh, there we go. We got him.
We got audio, and we have Johnny Stanton.
Johnny.
There he is.
Did you hear our discussion just now?
I did not. I missed it.
Okay. See if you can guess, just by looking at us. There's two of us on the panel that have played Dungeons & Dragons, and there's two of us that have never played Dungeons & Dragons. You got to guess who has and who hasn't. Well, I'll give everybody's name in case you don't know.
I'm Jay. You can start with me, and then you can go to G, Jason, and Bull.
There you go.
Okay. Well, my whole thing is that there is no stereotypical Dungeons and Dragons player. My whole ethos is the fact that everybody's multifaceted. Everybody has different passions. Like every athlete that you see on the field has something that is so important to them outside of football, and that's my whole that's my whole shtick. You know.
Okay.
I would say there's nobody who looks like a D&D player. I will say, Steve, I'm going to say that you mentioned to me one time, I think, that your daughter played. Is that correct?
Jason?
Sorry, I apologize.
None of us have a daughter. None of us have a daughter. No, I have a daughter, but she doesn't play.
I'm thinking of Steve Becker.
Steve Becker, man.
I'm thinking of Steve. I apologize.
Don't worry about it.
He's our boss. J, G, Jason, Bull.
Jay, I'm going to say that you have not played. G, I'm going to say that you have. Number third name.
Jason.
Jason, I'm going to say that you have, and Bull, I'm going to say that you have not.
Went 2 for 4.
2 for 4. That's not bad.
You were perfect with
I have played. You were right about G. I have played. Okay. I haven't played him. I played when I was like 10.
It was just coming to a thing when we were young.
Well, I'm a little older than you.
I've never played.
Yeah, I haven't either.
But a lot of my friends, I played a little when I was a kid, but I didn't play for a long time. But G, you played a lot, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I used to play back in the day, but like I didn't have my own dice. Like you got to have, like you cool if you got your own dice.
Is that like showing up to the bowling lane with your own ball?
Like you don't have no, like you know what I'm saying? Like you can, like you gotta, and somebody would let me borrow the dice, and I'm like, okay, cool, man. And sometimes on D&D, like it's crazy because these games be lasting weeks. So there used to be like a weekly game, and it'd be like on a Tuesday.
Mind. At the end of my day, I bulk erase and I start over tomorrow.
And then it's kind of weird because like you really is making it up. They'd be like, yeah, I got these spells.
It was fun. I liked playing it when I was a kid. Did you, Johnny? You don't still live in the Cleveland area, do you?
I don't. I'm in California.
Yeah,
I was going to say.
Look at him. Look at the hair. He's got the California look.
It's true. My son is actually. I've talked about
the background.
I should have known that.
Well, it could
have been Florida. But my son is going to be in a show in December. It was written by the person that's putting on the show. It's called Ye Old Going Medieval. Anyway, the basis of the show, and my son is one of the 3 main characters in the show. There are 3 D&D players, and so the whole thing's been. So I thought you would appreciate that and maybe go if you were living in the area. But we're not going to ask you to fly in from California. But what is it that has captured you about this game? Like, was this your, I mean, as a kid, were you obsessed with it? Or did you become more into it as an adult?
No, this was something I got into in college. I wasn't somebody who's super into fantasy. I saw the Lord of the Rings movies when I was growing up, but I didn't, go reach out and, read the books. I wasn't trying to get every piece of fantasy information I had. I actually moved in from like kind of the comic book world, and knew some friends in the comic books who were playing, and I'm like, you know what? I think this is something that I could be, have fun with. And then it kind of just took over from there. It became a creative outlet for me that became really important, and it became a really great way for me to be able to connect with people. Before I was in Cleveland, I'm pretty sure Myles Garrett and Wyatt Teller had no idea what D&D was outside of Stranger Things. And now it was a great way for me to be able to connect with them in a really intentional way, where we, every month or so we'd get together over at Myles' house and play in a game. And, we were able to raise $18,000 last year in playing a game live in Cleveland. Awesome. So it was a really cool opportunity for me, and it still is, to be able to connect with people, to be able to grow, and to be able to show that, exactly what Athletics Check is. It's that people have multiple sides to them, and being able to know about those things, being able to connect over those passions is really important to me.
Are you excited, by the way? Sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned Stranger Things, so I just had to follow up. Are you excited about the final season?
Absolutely. Yeah, the last season was really fun.
It was. It was awesome.
So we got to get a definition of what nerd is. I feel like the definition of nerd has been cast upon a lot of people, and it's a lot of posers in the community now. Just because you watch the Marvel movies does not mean you are nerd worthy. You have to, if you watch Dragon Ball, you have to learn about the mangas, not just regular Dragon Ball Super. What is your definition as a nerd, as you're explaining it to, and how do you get in this cult?
So I'll push back against it just a little bit, because I don't want, with Athletics Check, I'm trying to break down the walls that are separating people from, separating people in that jock nerd binary. There is no such thing. You don't need to choose between those two. I'm the perfect example of that. So I think being nerdy about something is just shorthand for being passionate about something. You can be passionate about Marvel movies. You can be passionate about D&D. You can be passionate about aerospace technology. You can be passionate about math. It's something that is just outside of, it's not even outside of pop culture. Marvel movies is pop culture now. Yeah. So it's anything that's outside of, I think, your occupation that is an intense hobby for you. And I think hobby has a negative connotation in itself. I think it's something that you like to be able to put your energy towards. And, what I like to put my energy towards is spending time 4 hours a week or so with friends around a table doing silly voices and rolling dice.
So, Johnny, here's why I think you're the perfect poster child for this. It sounds like your mission is to bring the jocks and the nerds and really just everybody together and break down the walls. You might be the perfect person for that, because, correct me if I'm wrong, you were at one time a quarterback, a wide receiver, a tight end, and a fullback. So you've really been doing that inside locker rooms your entire life.
No, it's true. I've my whole thing with football was to be adaptable, was to be versatile, to be somebody who could play on the field wherever I could. I don't remember playing, ever lining up. Well, I've lined up a wide receiver. I think pretty much anybody on the field could. But I've had quarterback, fullback. I had a couple snaps at running back in Cleveland. I definitely had some snaps at tight end in Cleveland. In college, I played some linebacker. I'm learning how to long snap right now to try to make my way back in the NFL.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, being versatile is definitely the name of the game for people who can't quite, are trying to make it back on a roster.
All right, well, now I got to go to the long snapping route.
Yeah, Charlie's replacement?
Yeah, how long have you been doing this, working on this, and where are you at with it?
I've been working really hard since January, pretty much full time. I'm still definitely working at fullback. I'm staying strong, I'm staying in shape, but long snapping is a skill that I want to be able to use to extend my football career. I've had a lot of combines. I'm spoken with scouts, and they want to see some game film out of me, so I'm hoping to be able to make it into a spring league. If not, back with the team at fullback this year. So As far as Charlie's job, I'm pretty sure is very, very secure.
He can't do it forever.
He can't do it forever, but I'm hoping that I can have a career like Charlie.
Yeah, he's the model. He really is.
What's the key to that? What's the hardest part?
It's interesting when you're looking at a snapper. You just expect him to pinpoint accuracy, get it back right on the belt line of the punter, and then you don't really look at the guy when he's blocking. He's kind of in charge. He has to make the most decisions when it comes to blocking. The personal protector tells him which way to go, but you have to be able to decide, okay, with crossers, with picks, who's the guy that I'm supposed to take care of. And on top of that, a lot of people will say, we're lucky if the long snapper gets down there and in on the tackle, but that's something that I want to use as an advantage of mine, is that I can run down there with the linebackers, with the tight ends, all those guys who are put on punt protection, and try to go make a tackle on the returner.
Johnny, is there a level of, I don't know if fear is the right word, or maybe anxiety when you're the long snapper that you got to get over, because you can't really look at the guy that's about to hit you on the defense? Is that a mental hurdle to overcome when playing that position?
Yeah, it definitely is. Everybody who's outside of me who's doing it has been doing it for years, and has a number of games under their belt. It's something that I'm trying to get used to. But I having not done it in a game yet, but been able to do it in practice in Cleveland. I was one of their emergency long snappers. Getting reps with. I remember Andy Janovich, who was the fullback with me those years, lining up over me on nose guard, and he would just have this heavy breathing. And I don't know if he was just doing it to mess with me, or if he was just because he was tired from special teams period. But he would, it's definitely nerve-wracking when you're like, okay, I can't even look at you, and you're about to, throw your whole body weight into me as fast as you can. So yeah, there's a ton you have to do. You have to be able to snap perfectly, then you have to block perfectly, then you have to be able to get off that block and set up, a tackle down 40, 50 yards down the field. So there's a lot to do with it, and I think a lot of it doesn't end up getting appreciated by the common viewer.
Man, you talk about the offensive linemen. They're overlooked and they're taken for granted, and their name is only used in vain because you never stand up and say, what an unbelievable pull or whatever. But the first time they miss a block or there's a holding penalty, but I imagine for long snappers, it's even worse.
Way worse.
For 99.99% of the plays, you're just invisible, and everybody expects you to be perfect. The one time you sail one high or it hits the ground, then all of a sudden every eye in the building is on you.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. You want it to be a thankless job. You want to be somebody who just blends into the rest of the team, just another man on the 53-man roster who just does their job. Because unless you're making a tackle, you're not going to be, have a perfect game. You're not going to show up on the Pro Football Focus, stat line, graded sheet at the end of the game. So yeah, it's something that you're just hoping to. For me, it's just an excuse to be able to continue playing football. That's all I want to do.
Size-wise, where do you fit in? I imagine that you would be right in the wheelhouse, or maybe on the smaller end. Where are you on the size scale for long snappers?
I'm probably a little bit heavier. I've been able to put on all that muscle for fullback and tight end, so that I'm a little bit heavier and stronger than most long snappers. I definitely, with the guys that I've worked out with or competed against in combines, I can run with the best of them, if not a little bit faster. So the hardest part about long snapping is the long snapping part. Everything else, otherwise everybody would do it.
Johnny, what was the guy was your teammate? You were in the running back room with him. When you saw Nick Chubb's injury, I don't know if you were watching the game live at the time, what was your reaction?
I did end up missing the play itself, but I was watching the game. I saw the reactions in the Pittsburgh crowd. I was tweeting during that. I remember feeling obviously horrible for Nick. The next thing I thought about was how respectable the Pittsburgh crowd was being in cheering for him as he went off the field. I think Nick is one of the most well-respected players around the league. I don't think anybody could ever have a bad word to say about him. He is a friend of mine. He is somebody who I actually messaged him the day before that game, wishing him luck. And it hurts to see him go down like that. what I'm so glad about is that it doesn't seem as bad as everybody made it out to be, or as everybody thought it was going to be. So, we can continue to hope and pray that he gets back as soon as possible. I want him to just make sure that he's back at 100%, but it's something that he's been through before and something that he knows how to get through.
If we would have told you after that 2020 season when Baker played very well the second half of the year, win a playoff game against Pittsburgh, that since then Baker would have gone to Carolina, to the Rams, to Tampa, and that the Browns would have traded for Deshaun Watson, how shocked would you have been 3 years ago if that had happened, if we told you that?
I mean, very shocked. I know that I could have done a whole lot more to be able to secure my spot on the team, but I do think that the slight offense change when Deshaun came in is a big reason why there's not a fullback in Cleveland anymore. So yeah, I loved having Baker there. He was a great guy in the locker room. He was fun to be able to be around. I root for him in Tampa. I root for all the guys that I played with, and that includes everybody who's still there in Cleveland.
When you look at the Browns right now, they're kind of, I think the expectations this season were very high, but now we're at the 4-game mark. They're 2-2. Their defenses looked elite. Their offense at times has looked like they've played with a bag over their head. Against Tennessee, they figured it out. Who is this team after 4 weeks?
It's a team that's still trying to get their identity. The defense is obviously the core of their identity. It's something that has always been on the precipice of being a extreme strength of theirs, best in the league. And this year they seem to have figured it out. I think it's the combination of not only Miles being as good as he's ever played, but also guys like Greg Newsome, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Grant Delpit being all healthy, and all of them having a couple years under their belt now where they're really being able to dominate those defensive backfields and in being able to stop the run. As far as the offense goes, they're trying to gain their identity back with Nick going down. They obviously have weapons. Everybody knows they have weapons. You got Amari Cooper, you got Jerome Ford, just lighting people up. But consistency with holding on to the ball is the name of the game around the NFL. It's no different in Cleveland. And making sure that, the offense and everybody on the offense is making smart choices is what's going to get you more wins. But it's the NFL, those guys are getting paid to play the game as well. Everybody, 2-2 after 4 games is not the end of the world by any means. I think people in Cleveland should hold their head high and have a lot of hope for the rest of the season, because Jerome is only going to be able to grow in his strength and speed. He is somebody who I was very impressed with last offseason. And Kareem being there to be able to help usher him in, as well as take a lot of the pressure off of him in that run game. And Kareem was always an incredible third down back in the pass game, being able to be a threat to run, but also be a threat to catch a swing pass and go 50 yards with it. So I think they have the weapons there. It's just about bringing it all together and regaining your identity with Chubb going down.
Real quick, before we go to Anthony, thumbs up or thumbs down on the first episode of Loki? I'm assuming you've watched it, season 2.
I've been waiting to. I think we might end up watching it tonight. So okay. I've heard good things, though.
Sounds good. Anthony, go ahead.
Anthony's going to go second. I got one for you real quick, Johnny. And remember, if you guys haven't check out the Athletics Check on Johnny's social media channels, at Johnny Stanton the 4th. Johnny, who was your favorite fullback growing up?
Oh, man, I think it's tough to say. I was a quarterback growing up, so I wasn't really looking at the fullbacks. But, oh, my gosh. Lorenzo Neal is somebody that I really enjoyed watching. Yeah.
Great choice.
Blocking for LaDainian Tomlinson. I've talked to people who went up against Lorenzo, and I actually haven't interacted with him myself. But just hearing the stories about this bowling ball of a 5'8", 5'10" fullback just blowing your chin strap off is always fun to hear. That's just the epitome of a fullback right there.
Yeah, hey Johnny. So as the resident D&D nerd on the show, I have to ask, what was it like working with Dimension 20 and Brennan and all of them when you got invited onto that?
It's really fun. I did a thing called Adventuring Academy with Dropout. Everybody there is incredible. I've had the opportunity to be able to do an Actually episode, which was my first appearance on Dropout, as well as an episode of Dirty Laundry, which should come out in the next couple weeks. I don't know exactly when.
Nice.
But everybody, Abria, Brennan, everybody that I've met, the cast of Critical Role have all been exactly what you would hope they would be. They're all incredible people. I consider them friends now. And it's a very fun community to be a part of.
Listen, Johnny, really quick before we let you go, it just came to me. You should be doing acting lessons, bro. You should be doing some acting.
Yeah, he's got the Hollywood look.
Yeah. Don't mess with that long snapper stuff. You should be doing some acting stuff. There's a lot of places out there. It just comes to me, and I'm right. I got a crystal ball a lot, so you should be doing some acting, and I hope to see you in the next 3 years on the big screen.
I appreciate it. I actually just took my first improv class on Wednesday, so maybe I'll throw some acting classes.
There you go. That's great.
Thanks, Johnny.
Johnny, thanks, sir. Great.
Thanks,
that's what a well-rounded person looks like.
There you go.
For the first time in my life, I felt like, have you ever felt sorry for someone at a party that's not a sports fan, but everybody at the party is a sports fan?
Yeah.
And you know this person, and you know their head is spinning. You're talking about 4 threes and the bye week. For the first time in my life, I felt like that guy when you guys were talking about Dropout, Bree, and Brendan, and I'm like, I don't know what in the hell's going on right
Dungeons
now.
and Dragons, Stranger Things.
Dungeons and Dragons.
You were coming.
Anthony officially stumped the panel. We got to get some Super Chats in, though, guys. And when we do Super Chats, they're brought to us by our dear friends at PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in East Lake, Benner, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We got a couple of them today, and we will start from Donnie M. Jason and the guys, how many sacks do you think 71 gives up this weekend? And how comfortable do you think Watson is with 71 watching his backside?
5 and not comfortable at all.
3 sacks, 4 more pressures, and 2-3 stops in the run game.
How many are the Niners going to get, or how many is he specifically going to give up?
He specifically.
I think he'll give up 2.
I'm going to say 1, even though he stinks. I think they're going to I'm going to have some faith in the game plan, which may be stupid, and I think they're going to get rid of the ball quickly and not give them an opportunity to get to the passer as much. But obviously Deshaun Watson is not looking forward to having him block for him.
Next one's from Daryl, and we love Daryl. Shout out Daryl. Stefanski's always out-schemed and out-coached, never once putting his best players in a position to excel.
That's not true.
And last but not least, from Harut. G. Bush, please take a shot of Kool-Aid, my friend. You're way too pessimistic. This is a new offense with new personnel. It takes time. Relax. You want your team waxing at the right time, they will get it together. Have some confidence.
Let me talk about G. Bush for a minute. He is an extreme guy. So when things are going well for the Browns, he thinks they're the best team in football.
Who's the new personnel?
When things are going bad for the Browns,
Ford?
he thinks they're the worst team in football. He's all in. Good and bad.
See, when I look at the film and I see my team doing bad or poorly, I don't say I hate them. I just say I want them to change that immediately, tomorrow. And if the Browns come out here and beat these 49ers, are you serious? That means you got a signature win. That means Deshaun Watson must have played.
You'll have Kool-Aid coming out
Oh,
of
what
your
are you
nose.
talking about? I'll have a brand new Kool-Aid Mafia shirt on the next day. Stop playing with me.
J and G will both have them as the best defense in the history of football if they win this game. Both of you.
Only if they play well.
See? Well, if they're going to win, they're going to have to play. The defense is going to have. Browns are not winning this game unless everybody plays well.
You mean they're not going to win 45-42?
What's the over-under, 39.5?
Yeah, no, even lower than that.
If they hold, listen.
I saw 39.5.
Oh, it is 39.
If they hold,
That's still low.
If they hold them.
I'd take the under.
They hold them under 14 points is the greatest I've ever seen.
There you go.
I believe that they can have a good game against the 49ers.
Yeah.
But as the Ravens proved, you can still put up 27 on this defense. And that was an offense that, quite frankly, has looked pretty pedestrian.
If Jim Schwartz...
for me, I'm throwing that game out because you had a non-competitive quarterback playing for the Browns.
That's fair.
I'm throwing it out.
Yeah, that's fair to do.
By the way, can we talk about the fact that I'm 17-8 making picks on the NFL through 5 weeks? 17-8, dominating the competition, and if you've been going with me, you're probably rich right now.
And by the way, he has has
baseball picks were hot like that too at the beginning.
He has a designated 1-800 line that you could call to get
What are you
the hot
talking
picks
about?
for this weekend.
You leveled it out.
No, I didn't.
I thought you were finished at 500 or so.
No.
How did you finish the season?
We stopped doing that segment on the air.
Oh, I hate that.
So I didn't pick them anymore.
How'd your money go betting against the A's all year, McNuggets?
Yeah, how did you end up on that bet?
When I went to Germany, I didn't look for 3 weeks. I didn't want to go back and figure out how it happened. So when I finished, I was down like $7. It almost broke even, but I have no idea how they did.
Proof
from
Vegas
August
knows
on.
what the hell they're doing, don't they?
Yep.
Because they had to win by 1 in a lot of these games.
They won so many close games. Lost so many close games. It was pretty devastating.
I got destroyed on the blackjack tables too.
What did they end up? What did they end up with? How many losses? They finished with 112. I thought they'd lose 121. So
They were 9 games better than Bulls' projection.
yeah, 112. But anyway, I'm dominating. I'm beating guys who played in the NFL. Brandon Stokely and Stink Mark Schlereth, both part of the competition. Schlereth is in second place behind me. He's 3.5 games back already. 5 games.
Sound like Baker taking a premature victory lap to me.
I'm backing it up.
Well, through 4 games, you lost.
5 games.
I want to give
5
you credit.
games.
You called the Jacksonville game.
Told you.